Welcome to the True Sky Crew podcast, where we share our cosmic pearls of wisdom. Why True Sky Astrology? Because when you align with the true sky, you align with your true self. We are your hosts, Sachi and Janine. Thanks, everybody, for joining us live tonight, and for all you folks joining us on the replay. Today, we're going to discuss True Sky Virgo and go through several items on our list today.
Woo!
Astrology,
Woo!
because when you woohoo feedback.
Yeah, sorry, that was me. Hey, I hope everybody is doing fantastic. It's a long-awaited True Sky Virgo episode. As you know, we had our special US Pluto return episode. So if you didn't catch that, go check out episode 14. And if you did not see March transits yet, that is episode 15. So make sure you catch up on all the True Sky Crew Cosmic Pearls of Wisdom. So
That's
the agenda
right.
for today, we are going to reiterate our amazing 2024 calendar and daily planner. So if you haven't heard about it yet, we have amazing True Sky info. We have a physical calendar, a PDF calendar, as well as a daily planner that you can print off for yourself. So in order to get to that, you can go to sachitheseer.com, go to book now and /shop. And in here, you will see our daily planner. So this is for the full year. You will get January through March upon purchase, and we are finalizing April through December that you will get very soon in March. And then there's tons of information. If you want to learn more about this, this is for the detailed astro people. Go ahead and click this and read more about it. Super, super detailed. We have our wall calendar print. This is $44.44 free shipping, and you get a beautiful printed calendar that has all of the transit information on a day-to-day basis with some space that you can also, write if you have appointments and things. And then we also have our digital calendar, which you can print yourself if you'd like, or you can use it on your computer or phone, however you want to use it. And then we also have January through March available month by month. So if you want to look back at some transits through January and February, those are available. And then we have our current month, March, and we will have the rest of the months up shortly within the next month or so. So that is where you can get all the True Sky amazingness. And then also as a reminder, we have our Instagram group chat, which is always popping, always popping.
It's
People
so fun in the
are
group chat. I love it.
It really is. Every time I go in, it's a new topic, new conversation, someone sharing something, whether it's a story, a dream, something about their chart, asking questions. It's a really great way for the True Sky hive mind to collect and share information in safe space. Also share some personal stuff. So if you're interested in joining that Instagram group chat, you can DM us at the True Sky Crew on Instagram, and we will be happy to add you. That is the only way you can add. Please do not add people. It can only go through the official channel.
Yeah, you can try, but you won't be able to add people.
Wah, ha, ha, ha.
We've got that turned off.
That's the Pluto laugh, as we call it.
Power and control. Just kidding. Yeah. Just kidding. Love you guys.
We just playing. We do. It's all
just
love.
kidding.
But we just want to make sure, that we have eyes on things.
Yeah,
since
we want it to be a
moderators.
safe space. Yeah. Mm-hmm. That's our goal, is to keep it a nice, safe space where everybody plays nice. So I think it's a fascinating group of people, very curious. They're sharing, everybody shares little snippets here and there. And, we're coming up on a new moon in a couple days. And I'm going to be really interested to see what kind of dream stuff is popping off, because we're like 3 days out at this point.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm already going into a dream blackout, and that usually means I'm astral traveling, doing recoding work. So it feels powerful. So I'm excited to hear what comes through for folks.
Yes, I'm excited too, especially right before we hit the the equinox and the eclipse too. So it's just like, woo.
Yeah.
Again, if you guys have not seen that March episode, you gotta. So
It's
go
a
check that
power
out.
month this month. It does feel intense. Like I can attest to some of the physical intensity that I am going through, but it is clearing out stuff that has been stuck for years. So it's a very powerful month with the transits this month.
Mm-hmm.
So
And
yeah, check
yeah.
out the March episode.
Mm-hmm.
Episode was it 15?
Yes.
And
And
go listen to the part you want to listen to in the timestamps, new moon, full moon, equinox, anything that tickles your fancy.
indeed.
Yeah.
And as we mentioned at the beginning, we are going to be talking about True Sky Virgo. We know there's tons of you out there because you're the biggest on the ecliptic. So a lot of people are walking around not knowing that they're true Virgos, but they are. And
Yep.
then we will be answering some listener questions. However, we would like to kind of start with one. Janine, if you want to go through that, I'll pull up the graphics.
Yeah, it's more of a clarification than a question because sometimes I tend to blur this thing is conjunct and this thing is aligned. I've caught myself several times going back listening to the episodes doing timestamps. I'm like, daggone it. So I want to clarify the difference between a conjunction and an alignment, which we usually talk about alignments with the fixed stars. So as soon as Sachi pulls this up,
I'm
we
not
will.
seeing the on the graphic. Is it
Oh, okay.
because they're not marked on there?
Let
But I guess
me see.
I'll just
It's
pull.
it's the wrong chart. I think Aldabas should be on there. We were going to talk about Spica and Arcturus.
Which I
Let's
guess
just
let's
pull
talk
up
about
the
that
sky app.
first.
Yeah, let's just
Yeah.
pull up the sky app.
All right.
That'll be easy. All right. So when we talk about a conjunction, it means something is within 10 degrees of something else. Like usually when we're talking about fixed star alignments, well, I don't even want to say usually, you can talk about fixed star alignments with any planet or luminary. Most of the time when we're talking about a fixed star alignment date, we're talking about the sun aligning with it.
Mm-hmm.
So for example, on a 2D chart, like on your astrology software, Spica and Arcturus, if you pulled the fixed stars up and you put them on a 2D wheel, they would look conjunct. Okay. They are not.
Right.
It would be as the sun travels across the ecliptic on its path, it would technically be conjunct Spica because it's within 10 degrees. You can see that yellow line on the screen is the ecliptic. The sun would technically be conjunct Spica. It would be aligned with Arcturus because the way you measure an alignment is a perpendicular line coming off the planet or luminary that you are referencing. So while it's still like a blended kind of energy, there you go. That's it right there.
Imagine that's straight.
Yeah, imagine that's straight. And you have to also realize it's not just if you just continue that line, it makes a circle all the way around. So,
yes.
As we search for people to help us code an app, that is one of the things we would like to add is like a toggle on off another circle that is perpendicular to the ecliptic. So you can just scroll around visually and you can see everything that is in alignment that day through the fixed stars with whatever planet is, in question that you're looking at. So, because I know there was a comment that it was like the sun traveling through Cetus. It's like, well, technically the sun never travels through Cetus. And I think we were talking about an alignment with Difta, and I may have said a conjunction, and that would be my mistake. But the sun never conjuncts Difta in Cetus on the other side of the chart. It aligns with it through one of these perpendicular lines. So sometimes having the visual helps to understand it a little better. So that is kind of the difference between a conjunction and an alignment. On a 2D wheel, these guys are going to look like they're sitting right on top of each other, but you really have to start looking at declination, how far they are off the ecliptic to understand alignments. So they're still powerful, still very powerful, because the sun and planetary bodies are spheres, their energy moves in spherical ways. So at any point, like all I ever talk about is alignments, like that perpendicular, but there's also sextiles and squares. Like that sphere is making every aspect off it all the time, wherever it is. So it can get really complex. So just for simplification, it's like we just talk about the one line coming off of it vertically, or up and down off that ecliptic line.
Exactly. So like in the sky chart, right, Arcturus and Spica are in the same perpendicular alignment approximately. So when the sun, moving across the ecliptic, which is this yellow line, when the sun's right here on a chart, let's say, don't quote me on this, but let's pretend this is where Spica is, right? The chart is going to show Spica here, and then it's going to show Arcturus also right here.
Yeah,
exactly. And so on a chart, it's going to look like, maybe you might have, Mercury here. So if your Mercury's here, it's going to look like, oh, my Mercury is conjunct Spica and Arcturus, when really Mercury would be probably right here or right here, not exactly on the ecliptic, above or below it, which is going to show that, yeah, it is conjunct Spica. It's not conjunct Arcturus, but it is in alignment with it because it's perpendicular from the ecliptic. So that's the difference. And, here, for example, we have Black Moon Lilith and the sun. These are conjunct because they are, within 10 degrees from each other. The sun is also conjunct Zubin, which is it is aligned, or no, it would be conjunct Zubin.
Because that's pretty close. Well, it's a little bit off the
ecliptic.
It's a little bit off of the ecliptic.
But it's probably close enough because it is a star of Libra, versus something like Alphecca, which is in Corvus.
Way up off the ecliptic,
right, the ecliptic. So that's why even when you're using these 2D models and softwares and things like that, it is always important that you use a sky app, look at the true sky, because that's the only way you're going to get the full picture.
That is so true. And which star would be having more influence, right? You got to look at the 3D. I highly recommend. I've told this, or I have mentioned this to multiple people in the past couple of weeks. It's like, go look at a sky app, plug your birth chart into a sky app, and go look at where your planets really are in relation to the ecliptic, because Pluto usually doesn't sit on the ecliptic except in a couple spots. Chiron can be off the ecliptic. The moon can be off the ecliptic. So, we had a really great, I'm not going to share who it was or, what any other information, but we had a really great share in the group chat where they had several planets in the range of like Aries, Cetus, Void. And it's like, once you went and looked at a sky app, the moon was actually in Cetus. It was like right above that big star in Cetus. And the rest of them were hovering closer to the ecliptic. So that makes a difference as to how the energies are coming through.
Yes.
And it's probably a real aha moment, to look at that and go, oh, that makes so much more sense with my moon, right?
Yeah. So much is revealed, especially what I find is the most kind of profoundly different thing is when you realize what your true ascendant is, because when you look at the eastern horizon, it's just such a different energy than a 2D chart, because it can technically go through a couple different zodiac signs. And interestingly enough, what I've noticed is that a lot of the calculators calculate the northeast area rather than true east. So there's something about that shift, because most of the things that are rising on true east aren't even in the zodiac, which I find very interesting.
Well, it might be dependent on what time of year it is and where they're located on the planet too.
Yeah, that is true.
Yeah, it would depend on how far away you are from the equator. So that all matters. And
it really does.
Not necessarily going to see that on a 2D chart. So, and for people thinking like 70s to 80s, like go look at Pluto, go look up your sky app birth chart and go look where Pluto is, because we're actually going to be talking about this constellation in this episode. Coma Berenices, which is above the chest of Virgo, that little right angle above her body, that is a very interesting constellation. And I think through the 70s, Pluto was transiting through Coma Berenices, which is connected to Egyptian and Atlantean timelines. So kind of important.
Talk about a coma.
I know, right? We have a wave of people coming in to reconcile, distorted Egyptian and Atlantean timelines. Amazing.
It is.
Yeah. And, I haven't read a chart where Pluto is conjunct Arcturus, but I bet there is a small group of people where Pluto is conjunct Arcturus.
I bet. And I bet they
talk about some power people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I bet that's the generation that made that song. I'm blue,
Dabu dee dabu. Probably. That's funny. So that's what we wanted to clarify. If you guys have more questions, let us know. Maybe, maybe we could make a tutorial out of it. How to do this. We have had some questions with like, how do I find my true sky ascendant on a sky app? So maybe there's a tutorial. I'm going to make a note because we can definitely add to that tutorial playlist on YouTube. Ascendant. Those are always fun. So anybody that has ideas for tutorials, like you want a how-to video, let us know. Either in the comments or live chat or DM us on Instagram, and we can make that happen, because some of it's like we know what we know. What do you want to know?
Exactly. We are here to serve you with our info. Yeah. Very Virgo.
Very Virgo of us. And if we don't know, we'll go figure it out, by golly.
Exactly. We will find that data and we will share it.
That's our jam. So, are you ready to get started with Virgo?
Well, let's do it.
Man, look at these snazzy graphics. Who did that? That's amazing.
Ooh, it must be
must be one of us.
It must be a Libra with a skill for aesthetic.
That's true. That could be either one of us. We're both Libras, so
that's true. Janine has the eye for the aesthetic.
I do love a good graphic
visual. Yeah.
Good visual aid. So we figured this because we have our show notes every episode, but we're like, let's make it so everybody else can see these too. So we will share these on Instagram. These are shareable. Feel free to screenshot if you want, but they will be available. We might be able to even put them on YouTube too as a post. I'm just starting to figure that stuff out with YouTube. Like, oh, you can make posts on YouTube. How cool is that? So not into YouTube. So let's talk about Virgo. So true sky Virgo. She is a big mama jama.
Yes, she is.
And I think that's really important to make note of how big she is, because I think it's really important that there's a majority of people on this planet that are sort of working to anchor angelic templates on this planet, right? I think that's so important. They don't even
know it. Yeah.
And they don't have to know it. They just have to sort of follow the protocols, follow their intuition with that Virgo stuff. So, this is not the right slide for this. It's actually 47 degrees or 46 degrees. There's probably a second one I sent you.
Oh.
I that was a guess, and then I went back and counted.
Okay. All right, let me get the...
Give us a second. Well, I can keep talking about it. You just keep on rolling. So...
Oh, yeah, got it.
Yeah, the symbols for Virgo is the maiden, the angel, like the angelic figure, someone who has attained those purification status. There we go. Let's see. The wheat that she holds, Virgo holds a sheaf of wheat and a palm leaf. So that'll be on the next slide, but you guys got the info ahead of time. It's a mutable sign associated with the 6th house, Virgo things. It's actually 46 degrees, so much bigger than 30 degrees in the sky, right?
Yes.
It is an earth element ruled by Mercury, and that is so important because that is why they're like the earth angels, right? They can go to those really high realms, but their job is not to stay there like the Geminis. Geminis are like the galactic priestesses, the clairvoyants, the ones that are bringing sort of the mental information down and dispersing it. The Virgos are like, let's bring the coding down and anchor it through practical means, through living it, right? And making this something that is just day to day doable,
Yeah,
basically.
it's the embodiment of the data, whereas Gemini is more I don't want to say virtual, but non-material information.
Mm-hmm.
The Virgo energy transmutes the immaterial and metaphysical electrical impulses that run through the nervous calm system into physical action, which create your timeline, ultimately, your life.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
that's why it's mutable earth, because
Yeah.
mutable is changeable, it changes to its environment. And so Virgo is always doing something different, right? So if you think about mutable earth, that's like, what clothes are you going to wear on a daily basis? Like getting up, brushing your teeth. What time is it? Maybe it's a little bit later. Maybe you go in the shower first. What are you eating for breakfast? It's going to be a little something different. So mutable earth is the ever changeable earth element, how material reality is changeable, mutable.
Yeah. You're here to transduce something, right? To anchor it, anchor things into this this 3D reality. You're here to make a difference through what you do, right? Through your inner analysis, your own work, and then by embodying that thing that you have changed in your life. That's Virgo's job in a nutshell, is to walk their walk.
Yeah,
And
literally
let
movement.
everybody see it. Yeah, let
Yeah.
everybody see it. I
Mhm.
feel like sometimes Virgos get stuck in I have to be in the service industry. And it's like, no, no, no. It's more about you've done your own work, you've made your own mutable shift internally. And it's like, and now my cup runneth over. I understand so many things. How can I bring this to other people in a way where it's like they've embodied it and they model it. So it's
Exactly.
not that they do anything for you. They're not here to like be food service worker. I mean, they can do
That's definitely
anything, but
the
it's more
right.
like, how can I do this more in alignment, more authentically myself, more of my original divine template, basically, which
Exactly.
they can spend many years spiraling up to touch that part, like, to get that to that energetic level for
Hmm.
the embodiment purposes. And it can be many cycles of like, I don't want to call it death and rebirth because that's more Scorpio, but it's like spiraling upward and keep finding the most authentic version of you. And then you're like, oh, now I can do this thing. And it just comes into like you just do your daily thing with that understanding of the universe. It's like
It's the
the
nature
thing I
of being
doubt, like I
mutable.
had the
Like
memo
you're meant to
recently.
change.
Yeah, like I had the
That's why
memo
they change.
recently. It's like you're gonna just approach it from a different perspective. Like you're still gonna do the things you do. It's just you're gonna have this different way of looking at it and probably a different way of interacting with people and coming from this place that's more aligned with that source frequency where you just kind of like levitate through your day, basically. Just
And that's
walk on
part
air.
of, yeah, that's part of Virgo getting its wings and also making sure that Virgo has their halo. Because when
Yeah.
distorted, Virgo can definitely have those like horns and get distorted messages of what they're supposed to do. But once the angelic template is fully integrated into Virgo, there's the halo. So you're getting your divine downloads and you get multiple sets of wings on the back and
Mm-hmm.
on the feet. So that is the highest vibration of Virgo. And it's interesting because when we consider the sister sign, Pisces, it's like you really have to truly master that Piscean energy in order to be in the angelic aspect of Virgo, to be in that spiritual alignment of what it is. Because, I mean, Virgo does rule service to others. There's no doubt about it. But service to others doesn't have to mean waiting on people hand and foot. It definitely doesn't mean the
Yeah.
healthcare industry, even though I find so many Virgos gravitate towards that because there's kind of this it's kind of like a savior complex in a way of like, oh, I'm going to serve you to fix you. Virgos love a fixer upper on the low vibrational end, but anything can be an act of service, literally living your life purpose. Let's say you develop an app that changes people's life for the better. That is being of service. Let's say you write a book about your life that inspires people to, you know, share their story or feel safe to, it is also being of service. Being of service, like Janine said, it does not have to be in the service industry, although Virgos are great at that. But usually, you know, in service industry like food and things like that, it usually is coming from a place of like lower self-esteem that Virgo can sometimes have issues with, of like this is all
Mm-hmm.
I deserve. And we
They can be
deserve the
very
big tip.
self-deprecating. They really have
Yes,
to watch that downward spiral. Yeah.
absolutely.
Let's scroll over to the next one. Because I think that might be the one where we list the characteristics.
Yes.
Not quite that one.
This
Maybe
one,
the
the
next
symbols?
one.
Oh,
No, the next one where we talk about the high vibe, the low vibe, because that's kind of what we're on. So let's talk about it.
oh, okay, gotcha. All right.
Here we go. Characteristics. Oh, that's what I was thinking too. The archetype, which is kind of different than the symbol, the archetype is like the earth angel. So, like you said, the sister sign is Pisces. So, Virgo's job is to go into those Piscean realms and land that stuff on the planet, like physically, viably. I really feel like a lot of Virgos are working with the planet itself.
Yes.
They
And we
do
didn't
have.
mention that on the first slide, even though we have Mercury as a ruling planet, as a
Mm-hmm.
True Sky crew is really working to kind of recode some of the information of the solar system. We have kind of come to the conclusion that Earth may indeed be Virgo's ruling planet or co-ruler.
Yeah. And I did put that on my notes. I didn't put it on here because we hadn't talked about it, but I do feel like Mercury and Earth are co-rulers of Virgo.
It totally makes sense because
Yeah.
it's literally the, like, as Pisces is the sign that rules other dimensions, like any dimension and multiple timelines. It's like the Virgo is pulling high vibrational light. And that's all what angelic means. It's high vibrational light, you know. And just as a reminder, you know, angels don't have a religion. They don't belong to a certain church or belief system. They are just high vibrational beings of light. You can have
Mm-hmm.
angelic ancestors, angelic fae. You know, unicorns are part of the angelic realms. So just to be
Yeah.
clear on the nomenclature.
Yeah. Whereas like the Gemini priestesses would be all up in those ether realms, like they're more astral. The Virgos do that. They go there, but they're more like we really need to incorporate this into the earthiness. Like the witches, I feel like the witch is a really great symbol with, you know, no judgment on that name. Like that has a really tough stereotype attached to it, but they're like the earth priestesses.
Yes.
That's what a Virgo is.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a lot more of them out there than most people think, you know, if they're using tropical astrology.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like a lot of Virgos probably, because they're so good at analysis and just being really organized, they probably do fall into a lot of careers where it's just like you just follow the rules till they probably hit their midlife transits and then they're like, what am I doing?
Yes. Yeah.
And they spiral into another series of like that inner exploration to find more of like, all right, what am I doing here?
Mm-hmm.
So they are great at, you know, it's funny, the friends that I've had that have been Virgos, well, the ones that I know personally locally is like they're accountants. They're and I'm like, well, of course you are. But also a yoga teacher. I'm like, oh my gosh, so funny.
Mm-hmm. And that's the
And
range that
she
Virgo
does
can have.
both. Yeah. Like that personal reference, like she did both.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, you are so a Virgo. How can you think you're anything other than a Virgo? So
Yeah. Yeah. And like the witch archetype for Virgo, you know, when we think about, you know, what a witch is, it's just, you know, someone who kind of puts intentionality into something that they do, right? Everything can be a ritual. When you brush your teeth, you can say, you know, My mouth will only speak truths, things like that, right? That would be considered witchcraft in some lens. And Virgo is usually seen holding some wheat. So it's like, sort of putting the intention into the food, utilizing herbs, things of the earth with intention to heal, which is what
Mm-hmm.
witches historically have been. They've been, alchemists, herbalists. And also, Virgo is usually typically seen with a bird, which also brings in that angelic aspect, but it's also working with animal spirits. So you can even, I mean, shaman is definitely more scorpionic Ophiucan. But when it comes to like working with the earth spirits, that is all Virgo.
Yeah, the shaman does feel like more going into shadow realms, and
Yeah,
that's not what Virgo
that's
really
not Virgo.
does. No,
Virgo
it's
is
not
the
Virgo. That's a
conduit.
different job
Yes,
description.
exactly. Virgo's
Yeah.
all about the high vibrational light. It's
Yeah.
like what can I do? What can I do to see a noticeable change? And again,
Yeah.
Gemini is the other aspect of Mercury of like going up there, getting all that data. Virgo gets the information downloaded or uploaded rather like through their angelic crown chakra, which is the halo.
Yeah. Yeah, and conduit it to the earth core, like really working with the planet when you get this attuned, astral traveling out, bringing codes in, anchoring them on the planet, probably have a direct connection with the earth core. You could probably talk to the animals, talk to the trees. It's all that Fantasia Disney stuff. Like literally Virgos can do that. So if you're not doing that, now you know that you can go give it a try, right? Like you never know until you try.
Yeah.
So it can get fun like that if you're into that. Um yeah, if you're working on the things like the service industry thing, that's sort of a, I feel like that's an overlay in the consciousness, because really, like you were saying earlier, Sachi, you can be in any sort of line of work, and it's like you have done so much self improvement work that now you just have all this stuff to give and you just start sharing it from an authentic place. That's Virgo. It's not to
Yeah.
be behind a desk with a nerdy pair of glasses and like doing bean counting all your life. That is not Virgo.
Or to
It's a
be,
lower aspect of Virgo.
cleaning
Yeah.
dishes for other
Right.
people. I mean, obviously you can do that, host a party or whatever, but especially because so many people in the service industry can be trapped in like wage slavery and things like that. And that is an emanation, a low vibrational emanation of Virgo, of like, this is what I deserve because I have to serve people at the expense
Mm-hmm.
of my own needs, at the expense of my own goals. When again, it's like if you are aligned with your soul mission and you're doing what you're supposed to be doing, that is serving others.
Yeah.
Serving yourself is serving others because you're creating that template for other people to follow by physical embodiment of your authentic self.
Yeah. Like say you are in the food service industry and you're like, I see all these possibilities and potentials to do this differently from maybe more of a, I don't know, like gifting sort of way, or like there's just some other way you see it. Go do that. Like go try and land that on the planet.
Yeah.
That's the Virgo thing,
And
is not to be stuck in that wage slave stuff.
exactly, which it's interesting that you mentioned coma berenices, is that how you say it?
Yeah.
Which is
Berenice's hair. Yeah.
Berenices, which is recoding those Egyptian timelines because the Egyptian timelines are rooted in slave codes.
Yeah.
So a lot of people who have alignments or, with their placements in the first top of Virgo from head to midsection, or really solar plexus, that is probably going to be a major thing. And the thing is, when we think about even food service industry, someone has to do it, right? A lot of people who haven't awoken to their power will sort of gravitate to things like fast food and things like that. But you can make tons of money and be in the service industry. You can find the nicest restaurant and be making thousands of dollars in tips every night. Again, no matter what you do not have to be in wage slavery. You do not have to be stuck in any sort of pain program or self-deprecation program or again self-sabotage. Like
Mm-hmm.
that's not true, Virgo. That is the shadow.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a really interesting and complex sign because it's really doing a lot, like mentally integrating and physically anchoring. Like that's a big that's a big thing to do.
Mm-hmm.
Clearing out those timelines, those old Egyptian codes. So yeah, go see if you have any planets lined up an alignment with in alignment to Coma Berenices. Like I was saying earlier, there's a generation of people, probably the 70s, maybe early 80s, where it was cruising through there. So,
Mm-hmm. And
some
if
of
you
us
have like
came here to
personal
reconcile that
placement,
stuff. Yeah,
yeah,
with
if you have
Pluto,
personal
that's
placement
like
there, like that's
with
deep
Pluto.
shadow. Yeah.
Yes, deep shadow, but it's very ancient angelic templates too. Like you gotta go deep to excavate those and integrate those. And it's kind of like I feel like you kind of feel like it's a life mission. Like I just got to get in the shadow and find this. Like you just keep getting called because you know you're going to pop through a membrane and be like, oh, I knew this light was in here, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
Right.
Pluto holds a lot of power like that too when you do that deep dive. Um, so for people with that Pluto placement through Coma Berenices and above Virgo, um, really doing some power code landing on the planet just by sort of doing your own self improvement work, doing like any kind of deep psychological work, because Pluto's usually deep psychological or deep karmic, like really old karmic stuff, karmic cleanup. Mm-hmm. So I think that's a fascinating place for Pluto to be cruising through there in that area of Virgo. And that we have people walking around on this planet that are literally doing that job right now. Like that's what they came here to do. Probably had lifetimes in Egypt.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
And interestingly, so much of the Egyptian stuff is connected to Sirius, which is in Gemini, which is also what Mercury rules. So there's a connection there for sure.
Yes, there is. How mercurial.
Yeah, how mercurial. How organized of you.
Yes.
Right on. So some of the shadow aspects, as you can see, they can be really hard on themselves, overly critical of themselves. A lot of times I feel like Virgos do tend to direct the thing inward on themselves. It's not often that you'll see a Virgo, well, maybe like picking apart things on the outside. Maybe it depends. They tend to focus it inwardly unless it's like the OCD stuff.
Even if they're picking something apart, what I've noticed in external, they keep it inside until it like reaches.
They try and keep it contained.
Point.
Yeah, until it
they
blows
won't,
up.
Yeah. Although
that's
like,
what perfectionism does, though.
Yeah, Virgos definitely love to red pen things. So, if you give them something and ask for feedback, you better believe there's going to be tons of red pen, annotations. So, they love red penning. I don't always say this, but they love it better when you get it right.
Yeah, it's like, I don't know how many people will get this reference because it might be a my generation thing, but there might still be a company called BASF, and their commercials were, we didn't make the thing, we just make it better. That's Virgo.
It's funny. I've actually done some work with that company, so it's funny.
Really?
It's alive and well. Yeah. Wow. What a
I know, what a blast, right? So that's kind of Virgo, is like they don't create the template. They just access the thing that already exists to improve the thing because it's not running at a high capacity, or it's not running at optimal capacity. So optimal capacity is a key word also for Virgo. Like, let's, upgrade. Let's upgrade that.
Exactly. And that's why Virgo rules utopian timelines. So when we think about angelic templates, right, it's this high vibrational light. It means creating your own heaven on earth. And what does that look like, right? Your own heaven is your own utopian timeline. So when your life is aligned like that, obviously you are in service to others through embodiment of whatever brings you joy, of whatever. And a lot of it has to do with mastering the previous sign Leo, right? That's like what brings you joy, what makes you happy, how you shine your light. It's like all of that Leo stuff. Okay, now do it on a daily basis, because Virgo rules daily basis. It rules your health as well, specifically gut health, or most of all, I would say gut health, because again, daily routine, food, That's a daily routine for everyone, unless you're fasting or something. Um, but
That's still
everything
a
that you do
Virgo
on it,
thing.
that
Fasting's
is
still a Virgo thing.
definitely,
Yeah.
the food or absence of it is
Mm-hmm.
definitely Virgo. So it's like, what are the small things that you are doing on a daily basis, and how is it creating the bigger picture? And that is part of anchoring your utopian timeline in. They say the devil's in the details, but truly the angels are. Because if
Yeah.
your small choices are aligned, then your overall life is going to be aligned. And that's the way to improve your life and to get on utopian timelines, is literally take it choice by choice. It's
Yeah.
not some big thing that happens to you. It's literally being conscious in your physical actions on a day to day.
It's being at the grocery store and choosing fruit instead of Oreos.
Yes.
Like with Virgos, I think
Mhm.
their health is really important to the functioning of transducing those codes. Like
Yes.
they do need to focus on that health. They do need to eat the apple versus the cookie, right?
Right.
Because it's like you put high octane fuel in, the body runs
Mhm.
cleaner. It's really important.
Exactly. And the
And
next
that's
level
why
of
they're
that,
so connected with the witch stuff and the herbalism, the
yes,
apothecary, like
exactly.
knowing how to use plants and herbs as medicinals. Like that is the nature of pharmacology. That's the origin of pharmacology. It was from the witches, basically. So
Right. It should be farm. It should be from the
yeah.
farm. And I was gonna say that's the next level up on the up spiral. Is, yeah, you choose the nectarine instead of the cookie,
Yeah.
but the next level is you grow your own food instead of
That's
going to the
right.
grocery store getting that GMO non-nutritious stuff, because the more nutrient dense food technology you put in your body, like your body's literally made of the things that you eat. Literally,
Yeah.
you are what you eat is not an understatement. It is a literal fact. What you
Yeah.
eat gets broken down into the, molecular base code that then your cells use to regenerate themselves.
Your
And if
body's
you're
a Ferrari. Put the good stuff in.
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. And
If you want
so,
it to run right, if you want to be doing that fast driving, you better be putting the good fuel in.
right. And if you're eating fake stuff or things that already have, genetically modified things, what do you think your body is going to do? It's going to say, okay, I'm going to genetically modify my regular code. That causes increased mutation rates, and that's how disease forms. Well, one of the ways. Um,
Yeah. Let's scoot
so
back over to the other page where it
mhm,
shows what it rules as far as the body. Because I feel like that's where we're at.
mhm.
Yeah. Body
They
areas, the
yeah.
abdomen, digest. It's basically everything that lines along the diaphragm, liver, gallbladder, spleen, pancreas, all those digestive juices, sugar regulating organs. I think actually maybe even is it associated with like the colon and the
Here,
small
get
intestine?
this. Um, yeah, I think it's the entire GI tract. I mean, the stomach specifically, but yeah, the whole
Oh
food
yeah.
process. So it's like the food, the food, even the mouth to an extent. Well, the mouth and the throat is ruled by like Taurus, uh,
Yeah.
Gemini energy, but still, mechanical and chemical digestion begins in the mouth
In the
with
mouth.
salivary,
Yeah.
yeah, with chewing and salivary amylase.
Yeah.
So,
Salivary glands.
mhm.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, as it goes down, Virgo rules the whole thing. And, you know, gosh darn it, if I haven't met so many Virgos who have IBS, who have lactose intolerance, who have
Yeah.
like severe stomach problems, or
That can be
and
anxiety from the perfectionism too.
that is totally, totally
Yeah.
true.
Yeah.
And part of it, and this is another thing I say all the time, is you cannot trust your gut if you eat trash. So that is the importance of the Virgo conduit system, because, when we think about the crown chakra getting the information, if the body is not anchored healthfully, that's when, the horns will sort of supersede the halo when it comes to transduction.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so you definitely got to be mindful of what you're putting in your body for anyone, right? Everybody has Virgo in their chart.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you look where Virgo rules over, that's going to show an indication of where things are going to, how your health is influenced the most, or, what part of the body is most influenced by what you eat and such.
Yeah. Yeah, their life experience that they're here to sort of live or gain is really like that self-analysis, purification, and to reconnect to their organic light templates. So the fuel matters, like those daily choices, just that's what you're here to do, is like the details.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. And,
Yeah.
you know, Virgo does rule over attention to detail and all that stuff. And that's part of being analytical. And I loved
Mm-hmm.
the accountant that you mentioned, because
Yeah.
Virgo energy, I always have this, like, I call Virgo the system manager, because they see the entire system and they can pinpoint sort of which cog in the machine is not working. So it's like having the big picture view of sort of how things should be working, and that ties into that idealistic aspect of Virgo, but being able to pinpoint exactly what's going wrong. So I always say, like, you can give a Virgo, a binder of like tons of numbers, right?
Oh, Virgo will make the binder full of numbers. Like you don't
That's
have to give
true.
it to
They
them.
will. Yeah, that's
They'll
true.
already
They
have
will
it.
make it. They will
My
give it to
binder's
you.
bigger than your binder.
Exactly. They will have like all the sticky tabs and different
Yeah.
color highlighters, and that
It will
stuff
be
gets
nerded
Virgo
out to the max.
off. Yeah.
Yeah.
It really gets Virgo going.
Yes. Yes. If you need somebody in your life to help you organize, like Virgos are the way to go, man.
Yes, it is true. To organize your life, to organize your closet, to organize
Your
whatever.
kitchen,
Yes. Uh-huh.
your
Especially
garden,
if Virgo
anything.
rules over the fourth house. Yeah, have them organize your kitchen.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, I call the Virgos the kitchen witches. Like
mhm.
that's for me kind of what they are, because it's like all that knowledge and wisdom gets just baked into everything. They
Mhm.
just know how to utilize that stuff. Probably because they can hear the plants talking to them, right? They're like,
That's true.
me,
Mhm.
put me in.
That is so true.
So, yeah. So,
Mhm.
yeah, I feel like Virgos are really connected to the inner earth realm too. Like, like you were saying earlier, the Fae, the Devas, like inner earth beings, the earth core itself, maybe. Mm, it depends on what they've got on in their chart, but they may be really naturally, I feel like they naturally go up, and their job is to really, they may not be super calibrated to land at inner earth and stabilize it. And that's really kind of their job, is like, I'm really good at doing the Mercury up here. I have to work at grounding it in
Mhm.
on a sort of
Yeah,
metaphysical
doing
level.
doing the thing,
Mm-hmm.
right. Doing the
Yeah.
thing that is aligned.
Yeah. But even in a metaphysical sense, like, for example, I'm really good at connecting with inner earth. Like grounding is my jam. I can sit through any kind of weird psychosis moment. However, I'm completely blocked going up in the dimensions. Like there's definitely a glass ceiling there. Virgos are great at going up. They might feel a little blocked at connecting to earth, and that's their job. That's their job as far as earth core stuff. So if you feel like I don't really hear the trees, I don't have moments where I've seen what inner earth looks like, that's your mission, basically.
Mm.
So
That's very
if
interesting.
you do naturally ground and connect, that's great. You probably have a really balanced chart with certain things going on. So
It's so interesting. Someone with a Virgo stellium actually connected me to the Earth Core dragons. So
nice. See, there
that
you
really
go.
tracks. Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. So practice going to inner earth or visualizing inner earth, or it's really, really important for Virgos just to be out in nature. Like don't sit in
Yes.
an office around electronics all day. You are such an electric being, even though it's a yin polarity. So it's like you understand with the Mercury component, you're electric, but this yin, the negative polarity of the archetype, it tends to onboard that stuff. So you don't want to be around a lot of like Wi-Fi or electronics. You're going to be really sensitive to that stuff. Get out in nature, have your little hut out in the woods. That is
Mhm.
so good and healthy for a Virgo to just go sit under a tree. Like Buddha must have been a Virgo. Like he reached enlightenment sitting under a tree, probably have a nice conversation with that tree, right? Helped him connect to the earth core and do his job.
Definitely a lot working in the Virgo Pisces axis there.
Yeah, for sure. Take your shoes off, walk in the grass if you live near the ocean, go barefoot on the sand at the beach. Spend a lot of time in nature as much as possible. Although I have to say Virgos may have hangups about that. They could be funny about that. Get over it.
Yeah.
Well, just being out in nature. It's not clean and it's not perfect. Yeah. Get over it.
That's the OCD aspect that can definitely anchor in. And that also ties into the idealistic thing. And that's part of, the angelic templates, right? And Virgo's skill of like, they see what should be, right? They can see the system from top down and figure out exactly what is wrong with it, pinpoint it, and tell you how to fix it. So as I mentioned earlier in the episode, Virgo love fixer uppers. So, hopefully that's not a person. I tend to find that some low vibrational Virgos tend to pick a mess of a partner, someone that they feel like they need to save or rescue or heal or something, when of course all of that is an inside job, usually to avoid, their own inner work that attracts them to someone who's like that.
That's shadow coming up. That's some of their shadow stuff.
Definitely shadow. And part of that is, it's because the way things should be. And so, being idealistic, it's like, because the way things should be, sometimes it can become hypercritical of like, you're not doing that right. Or, I'm not doing this right. And that can fall into that perfectionism and that OCD, because OCD is a control issue. You're obsessed with the way things should be, and your compulsion is to make it that way, to the extent that it becomes a disorder, that you can't, function normally, because that like irks you so much that your physical reality needs to change, right? It's that mutable earth. But your physical reality needs to change so much that you have to do something about it. And that's such a low vibration of Virgo because, obviously angelic energy respects free will. And that's why even when you work with the angels, you have to consent to them for them to intervene, unless of course they're doing something on divine will. But with OCD, you're running a program in your own nervous system that I have to do this. There is no
it's a loop.
I have to. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's a mental loop that keeps spiraling. Well, Virgos are supposed to spiral up, right?
Right.
The shadow aspects keep you spiraling down. Yeah. And depression can come in. Like Virgos can get to some really low shadow ranges of energy because they can't navigate that spiral. Like, it's the OCD thing where it's just like, it's not perfect, and they get harder and harder on themselves, and you really have to watch that with the Virgo stuff. And I would say, like, me personally, Pluto and Virgo, you gotta watch that. So that's why when I'm like, oh, my house is a mess, it's okay. Don't care. That's fine. I'll get to it when I get to it, right? Like, the universe is perfectly organized in every way. Somehow this is perfect. Like, and that's enough for today, right? Like, you kind of have to pick your battles with that Virgo mindset. And some of the organization can be, what do I want to accomplish today? Let's just focus on two things. Because Virgo can look at everything. It can know everything that needs to happen and get completely overwhelmed in like a half a second. And then they just shut down. I feel like a lot of, what is it that everybody, God, like the kids these days are like,
fidget spinners? I don't know.
Well, it's divergence. What do they call it? Like, you're a divergent personality. Neurodivergence. God, come on, people. It's that
we're
drives
all
me
unique.
crazy.
We all have unique brains. Yeah. Again, it's this, and that's Virgo energy, which rules the healthcare industry. Such a distortion of Virgo. Like the way to serve people and help them, heal them, is not through giving them some label that makes them, people who use their, quote unquote disease or mental disorder or whatever it is as part of their personality or who they are. That is one of the darkest shadows and lowest vibration of Virgo. Like, oh, I can't do that. I'm neurodivergent. I can't do that because I have insert here. It's like, first of all,
Yeah.
your body is mutable earth. It's completely malleable. Through epigenetics and neuroplasticity, you can change your body and your mind any freaking time.
Bingo, epigenetics. That is so key. I am here to change my genome.
And it starts with your food. It starts with your food and the environment that you're in, how you are talking to yourself and the people you surround yourself with.
Mm-hmm.
Your cells are always listening. Your cells are listening to every single thing that you say. So anytime that you are affirming or reaffirming dis-ease, there's something wrong with you, you can't be healed, et cetera, et cetera. Like, I don't even like saying it here because it's not true. Your cells are listening, and of course your cells are always going to say, yes, you're correct. Your brain is also always going to be looking for data to reassure you and reinforce your beliefs. So
yeah, the ADHD fits into this category for me too.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And it's people who, when you understand the underlying like karmic energetics, how the energy comes in and moves through the aura and affects the 3D template, is like ADHD is just showing you there's some kind of underlying anxiety. And it probably goes back to grief, honestly. Like, it usually goes back to grief or fear. Those are the two things.
On an energetic level, for sure. And a lot of it goes back to the food. Like, there have been so many studies that link ADHD and even autism to food dyes.
True.
Mm-hmm. Food dyes, like numerous studies. And there have been studies where kids with attention deficit disorder are given a, meat, cheese, nuts, fruit, and vegetable diet, and the issues go away. So, that goes back to the gut health, and something that's important, that's very mercurial about this when we talk about Gemini and how Gemini rules mental health, where, Virgo rules health, is that over 90% of your serotonin, your feel-good, mood stabilizing, happy hormone, is created in the gut. Yeah. For such a long time, I thought I was depressed, but really I was malnourished. And it can sound like a cop-out, because when I first found out this information, I thought so too. But I started eating salads with every color of the rainbow. Which I'm totally fine with people being vegetarian. I was vegetarian for, 12 years, I think. I started eating high quality meat once more, getting protein back in my diet, and my quote unquote depression was completely gone. I also did my shadow work, so that's part of it too. But like, really, and what you eat is so important.
My beef with the ADHD and like labeling everybody neurodivergent is the pharmaceutical companies. Well, psychology has to label you, has to diagnose you to give you medication, right? So they create the labels, and then you just start identifying with it. And when I listen,
meth,
to put you on
meth.
But when I listen to people talk about what they're experiencing, and like you were saying before, like they identify with a thing, it just, when they say, I have ADHD, it's like, no, that tells me it's somebody that hasn't figured out how to detach from the thing to start processing it alchemically. I am experiencing symptoms of whatever it is, ADHD. So what's the root cause? You have to do this game where it's like, so what's the root cause? What's the root cause? What's the root cause? Right. And like you were saying, a lot of the first step should always be clean up your diet, no matter what we're talking about with anything that gets labeled in the medical industry, so you can get a prescription for something, because that's the opposite of what you really want to do. Now, that being said, sometimes it might be important to get on some kind of medication to stabilize your mental state, and then start working the other way with the diet, right? Come at it the other way until you are stabilized enough in a
Or
natural,
stabilize your
organic
physical
way
state
where
as
you
well.
wean off the medication. Because, like, those symptoms are legit. Like, people experience symptoms of
Absolutely. Yes.
ADHD. It can be
Right.
crippling. It can make you
Diseases
not get
are
anything
real.
done.
Yes.
Yeah.
Uh-huh. Yeah, we're not
So
saying it's all in the head, even though some things are, but it's like, how do you reprogram the head
that's right.
in order
Epigenetics.
to, yes,
That's right.
exactly. Yeah,
Being on
neuroplasticity and
medication for
epigenetics.
the rest
Yes.
of your life to function is not
That is
the
not the goal.
thing. And that is not what the Virgos
Hmm.
are here to do. If they're experiencing like moving into symptoms, then maybe yes to get stabilized, but a Virgo will be like, I need to figure this out. Like that
Yeah.
would be what a Virgo would do, unless they're completely in the downward spiral when they go into a pity party and they're like, oh my God, you know. Eventually they get it together. Slap yourself around a little bit, get in the mirror, do some mirror work, that good old Mercury mirror work, and just be like, what's the root cause of these symptoms? Detach from the identity of the illness. You're not the illness. You're just experiencing symptoms. Your body is screaming at you. It's literally your body's like, help me. Your brain is part of your body, right? So sometimes it will show up as mental symptoms or not inability to focus. Like you were saying earlier, you'd be surprised what's going on in your gut and how that relates to your mood. So that's definitely the Virgo thing. Clean up the diet, quit eating the cookies, that kind of stuff. Oh no. What happened to Sachi? I wonder if we're still alive. No
Sorry
idea if
about
we're
that.
still alive.
Yep, sorry about that. I think my internet went out for a
Signal.
second.
Okay, let me hit play on
Okay.
YouTube and see if we're still up. It did that at the end of another
Okay.
episode, and it just
Yeah.
kept streaming. So we'll see if we're still.
It should still be. Yep, it is. Okay.
Okay, that's
All
funny
right,
because I was
cool.
just talking and talking, and it got real quiet. And I was like, then I heard recording stopped, and I was like,
Oh.
funny.
All right. Sorry
That's
about
okay.
that.
I feel like we've kind of like summed up the eat your vegetables sermon.
Definitely. And again,
Take
some
care
of
of your
these
gut.
comments,
Yeah.
some of these comments may be inflammatory to some, and I just want to,
Inflammatory. Is that a Virgo joke?
it is a Virgo joke.
Okay.
Don't let me inflame your bowels, everyone. But I want to make sure that I say, experiencing dis-ease and things are real. And having to be on medication is
happens
totally
sometimes.
fine. Exactly. It happens. It's fine. There's no shame in having to do that. But the ultimate goal should be to get off it.
Yeah. Figure out what the root cause is.
Mm-hmm.
As a person who has gone through extreme psychosis, and I have been on medication because there was a very intense period of that for over a year, I can tell you the work I did got me off the medication because I knew it wasn't crazy. I knew it was something going on in my energy. And I feel like some people who experience things like that from a very young age, they've probably inherited the genetics, and they get the opportunity to try and matriculate out of it, but it can be really hard when it's all you've known from childhood. Mm-hmm. So I feel like that's a challenge, is like parenting, like Virgo style parenting, where it's like, okay, if you're dealing with children that maybe are dealing with inherited genetic things, is like doing the best you can with their nutrition and being out in nature, staying away from electronics. If they need medication to function, fine, keep doing, like, go to these modalities that are like body code, emotion code, things that clear stuff that can be karmic and ancestral, and the emotional energies that get lodged in the body that cause the dysfunction. I think that's a key to add to the repertoire that psychology and the medical industry doesn't give any credit, because I can tell you that's what helped me.
Yeah. And also, reiterating to children or anybody that, this can change. You can get better. You can heal, and making sure that it's not like you have this and that's just what life is, because because your parents had it, now you had it. Like, reiterating these kinds of, that's a fixed earth thing, right? Of like, this is how it is, and that's just the way it is, right? Like being in your body during this lifetime, that's a fixed earth thing. It changes, but you're going to be in it through this lifetime. Obviously, you can actually project in things, but you're going to stay in the same body. But what that body looks like, how it manifests, how your organs function, how you look on the outside, that can change, through diet, through exercise. That's another Virgo thing. Just
Yeah.
health routine in general. So
Yeah.
all of that can change, and making sure to, reiterate that to people, because that was one of the biggest things of my life. I thought I was doomed and destined to be depressed, sometimes to the point of suicidal ideation, all that deep, dark, tropical Scorpio nonsense. Until I realized, like, I don't want to die. I just want this version of myself to die. And a lot of it was the
Yeah.
Virgo stuff. I had so many shadow Virgo things of being overly critical, being self-deprecating, self-sabotaging.
It can
OCD
lead
to an
to some
extent.
serious hypochondria. Yeah.
That I definitely had hypochondria when I was younger. It was like almost I was trying to manifest disease. And actually successfully like manifested a tumor in my body. The doctors told me like, oh, it's not going to grow. I took that as a challenge and I made it triple. I tripled it in size. Yeah. This was my
Girl.
youth. This is
Well,
when I
that's a
started getting
testament to the
into
power of the
it's
consciousness. But
it's
geez.
true. And then after that I was like, okay, I don't want
Okay, I changed my mind.
yeah, I was like, I don't actually want to be sick. It was benign, so it was okay. But I was experimenting with my own consciousness, and that originally is what set me on track for molecular biology and neuroscience, because I wanted to study
Ah,
how the brain and body interface work. But
wanted to understand it. Yeah.
once I got into academia, realized that they are not anywhere near, the place that I was of understanding, comprehension,
Yeah.
and out in the corporate world even less so. So
Yeah.
now I'm
I
here
was
doing
I
this
was
stuff.
in the vet tech industry for a long time, and I got tired of just, it's like you're just pumping animals full of
Oh,
chemicals. It's like you're
yeah.
not, there is a necessity for trauma, trauma healing, needing antibiotics in certain situations, but there's some stuff where it's just like that has got to go, like
Yeah.
pumping just, yeah, the
It's cruelty.
prescription machine. Yeah,
Yes,
it kind of
exactly.
is.
And
So,
I went through the same thing through academics and in the corporate world as well.
mhm.
Was, I wanted to help people, right? I wanted to, make the world a better place through my knowledge of science, and all the labs I was in, it was just a perpetual cycle of death, these
Yeah.
animals, rats, mice, and, even because I was so empathic, even C. elegans, nematodes, I could feel their pain. We are just genetically
Mm,
modifying them to literally live a torturous life. They are being tortured. We are changing their genetics so that they can't move, so they die a slow death and can't eat. It's just like, what the F, people? This is not healing. This is
that's
not
not
what
even
health
human.
is.
Yeah. That's
Exactly.
not human.
And again, all of it is for pharmaceutical companies. That's who's funding most of this research. It's
Yeah.
like to
They're
get people
creating
to,
chimeras. That
yeah,
is the
exactly. Yeah.
definition of hybridization trauma. Like
Yes.
you insert X genome into X animal to
Hmm.
create a hybrid species, and those two things are not supposed to be together. And then you eat that, say, like you're eating a tomato that's been a hybrid tomato. Nope, stick with the heirlooms, because there is a lot of
Hmm.
confusing genetic information that you're
Yes.
inputting into your body with like GMO foods. So
Exactly.
that is such a huge thing.
Exactly.
Just keep it
Exactly
clean.
like what we were talking about before. Like if you are eating a food that has been genetically modified, you are telling your body it is normal to have mutations. This food
Yeah.
has been mutated to be bigger, to be sweeter, whatever it is. Now your body is saying it's normal to, yeah, have these mutations. And of course, that's going to cause increased tumors and, various genetic dysfunctions. It's
Yeah, and
like, again,
I'm mostly
mhm,
talking about stuff that's been spliced. Like there's
mhm.
certain experimentations with, like, say plants, like open pollination. Oh, let's cross this tomato's pollen with that tomato to see what color we get. That's a different story.
That is different completely than doing things in a petri dish and
Yeah.
vectoring it into a species.
Yeah. That's a
Um,
chimera.
yes, that is a
That
chimera,
is
and
not something
it
you want in your
usually
body.
starts on a bacterial level. You put
Yeah.
the, I've done this personally, CRISPR-Cas, all that. You put certain genetic information into bacteria, and then you make the host eat that bacteria. Like C. elegans is a great example. And then the host now has that genetic information incorporated into it, once it creates progeny. And so, we can even consider that on a larger scale. Consider food that you are eating. That is a feeding vector. And you are incorporating that, and then it's getting incorporated into your genome, and it's going to be even more distinct when you have children.
And ironically, GMO wheat is one of the biggest issues.
I
Oh,
know.
Virgo.
Yes.
So be
That is so
really,
true.
really
I
picky
know.
about your food, about organic food. The more you know your source, the more you know, like, you have source your food close to home or grow
Mhm.
your own, the better off you are. Like, the latest thing I've been hearing is about this food like sealant called appeal.
Yeah. Oh
Like,
God. Yeah. But
I'm like, oh great,
yeah.
another thing to deal with. Fantastic.
You
Stay
can't
away from
scrub it
that
off.
stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anything that you see that says a peel, you cannot get it off with, your typical detergent that you use to get off pesticides from your food. So you can't use, salt water or apple cider vinegar and baking soda.
It's not food
It's
wax
not
in the
food
same way.
wax.
Yeah.
It is a physical layer of your food that they are saying is going to, increase food longevity, which is not something we need, right?
Yeah,
Because
right. You want
your
to eat it
body
with the
can't
vital force energy.
decompose it.
That's
Exactly.
right.
You want to eat something as close
Yeah.
to the vine as possible. And if it's not decaying in the supermarket, guess what? It's not going to digest in your body.
That's right.
But your body is going to start absorbing that peel, the A peel, which is just full of disgusting crap.
Stay away from the immortal food.
Yes,
The Twinkies,
exactly.
stay far away from the Twinkies.
Right. Even the
Zombie food.
like,
It's like
yeah,
zombie food for
exactly.
real.
The
Immortal
McDonald's,
food.
right? Everyone's
Oh,
probably seen it. The
gross.
McDonald's that's been sitting around for 15 years or something. No mold, no
Looks the same.
nothing.
Because it's not food. It's
Right,
ugh, it's
exactly. If
gross.
mold don't want it, you don't want it.
You don't want it. Yeah. This is true. So let's all just check out and go buy a piece of land and go grow our own food and live out in the woods, and yay.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Be happy and healthy and grounding every day.
Mm-hmm.
Walk around barefoot.
And we can still enjoy the the high tech, right, world. We can still have the internet. We can still have lights. We don't have to be,
Yeah.
pooping in a
And we can
bucket
also
or
turn it off
anything.
when we're done.
Yeah, exactly. You can
Right.
still live an organic life and still enjoys and
I
I
feel like
keep saying enjoys. Still enjoy the delights of technology, right? You don't have to live in a mud hut and shit in a bucket.
no, I feel like
Right.
Virgo would make it technically viable, right? Like, oh, we're gonna do solar panels. Oh, we're
Yeah,
gonna
like
do geothermal.
eco-friendly
Like,
homes. Yeah.
for the Virgos that Virgo that way, right? It's like we're gonna glamp it up. It's not gonna
Yes.
be roughing it. We're gonna
Right.
have those luxuries because Virgo does
That's the
not go without
angelic.
its luxury. A
That is
thousand
true.
percent. They
And
like
Virgo
the
does
easy
not
life.
like things disgusting either.
That's
Virgo
right.
will stay away from the dirty and the dingy because dirty, dingy, disgusting energy, that's usually demonic. So Virgo is going to gravitate towards the angelic. And again, part of this is, what does your day-to-day life look like? Maybe you have an amazing house, maybe, it's super high tech, you got all whatever, but outside your yard is just a beautiful garden. You can do anything that you want anytime you're hungry. You just go outside for a couple minutes, pick what you
That's
want, eat it,
heaven
and go
on
on with
earth
your
right
day. Yeah,
there. That's
exactly.
right.
And that's the original Earth template,
I know.
It's like
I can hear Georgia in my ear where she's like, Virgo's the original hoe. Heaven on earth.
working in the garden. That's right.
That's right.
Tilling
Hoeing
the
it up.
soil. Yeah. Uh-huh. It's true.
I love
Um,
that too. I love it.
which is funny because Virgo's also, we have maiden on here, but Virgo is
The hoe.
The virgin, though.
Yeah.
The virgin.
The virgin, that's the hoe.
It's that maiden energy of like
Yeah.
beginning your sexual exploration. And that in terms of like evolutionary astrology, that is that time of like developing more of the sexual self or relational self.
Yeah, and purity in the way like every humans are sexual beings, right? It's not to deny sexuality like the church makes it out to be like that. It's to be in your original organic light body tech with it all turned on. That's the pure state. Like you don't have any shadow that is blocking up any of that energy from freely flowing, sun codes conduiting in and just going straight down into the earth. Like that's purity. It's not about the OCD satanic complex, that whole virginal thing. We need a virgin, someone who's never had. No, a Virgo, like a highly calibrated Virgo, is probably totally into Tantra because they know how awesome it is for calibrating their energy field with a partner.
Yeah.
Like it's not to exclude sexuality in any way. That's why I love the hoe joke.
Definitely not. Yeah. Especially because like if you're anchoring heaven on earth, I mean, come on, there's got to be plenty of orgasms around,
Exactly. That's a pre-heavenly state. And I think probably some original, like the oracles were probably that Virgo type. Whereas like, I think originally oracles were, priestesses, but also, I don't know, there's a distorted thing where it's like they would send men to go sleep with them because they could get psychic gifts, blah, 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 because they understood how those women could attune energy through physical interaction, sexual physical interaction. So I feel like that probably was used and abused, but that is a very real thing. So you can pop out of your body in a really awesome sexual experience and go travel while your partner is anchoring the energy. Like, have fun, honey. See you in, 20 minutes. Another topic for our after show.
Yes, definitely.
True sky sexy time.
Yeah.
Sexy astrology.
Yeah.
That's so funny. We're really going to have to do that one day. You know that. All right. Should we move on to the fixed star stuff?
Let's
a couple more slides. I like having both like two slides on the screen.
You want me to pull up
rocking. Let's just pull up.
Well, okay. I think this is
those last two. I think there's only two
and then
more.
I'll do the other three.
Oh yeah, the other ones with the
together. Yeah.
It'll probably fit on there good. Let's check the chat, see what's chatting. Who's chatting in here? Oh, kitty cat. Hi, kitty cat.
Beep boop, beep boop. Exactly. After hours with Virgo. Yes. Thanks, Kat.
Hi, Melody. Glad you guys are with us. Melody. Our night owls.
Yes, thank you for your questions, and we will get to those.
We will get to those. We do like a good ramble. Discuss amongst ourselves. All right. True Sky Virgo. Is there another slide are you popping up the other one too? Is like the dates? Let's do that. Let's do those on the same page if you can.
Okay. You know what? Here, talk about this. Okay,
I'll talk about this and then we'll talk about the other stuff. Significant solar fixed star alignments. So these are all in that 46-degree arc of Virgo through alignments. As we were mentioning in the beginning, to clarify, alignments are perpendicular to the ecliptic. However, Spica will be actually conjunct. The sun will conjunct Spica because it's right on the ecliptic. The rest of these are some distance away from the ecliptic via a perpendicular line. So we've got Ursa Major energy, kind of like the tail end of Ursa Major stuff. Super Galactic Center and Aldebaran Draco. I kind of feel like those are very blended sort of energy. And I feel like
Should I bring the sky out for this, maybe? I can do one at a time.
Let me switch gears and talk about the first slide, and then we can do the fixed stars because everybody can see the fixed stars, but we can point that out on the sky app too. Because I have all these on my sheet, and we'll just run through it. So the constellation entering exit dates for Virgo. Leo Virgo void. The sun travels through the Leo Virgo void for approximately 2.5 days from September 14th to 16th. and then is actually in Virgo, which is a 46-degree span from September 16th through October. I had to put that on there because you wouldn't believe the amount of comments we get. There's like, oh, you forgot October, or like, what? You skipped a month. It's like, because Virgo takes up all of October.
Right.
Like, so I've started doing that. Yeah. Where it's September, October, and 2 days into November.
Mm-hmm.
And that's for you guys that listen to this probably know, but for everybody else, we measure the arc degrees of the constellation from the first fixed star that there comes an alignment in her head, and the last one at one of her feet. So that's how we measure all our sizes of constellations, is from first fixed star to last fixed star. We don't use IAU boundaries, and we certainly don't use tropical astrology. We look at what's really there, and that is a pretty big swath of the sky. So she does sit just right above it, but the ecliptic does cross through her hand there. So that's a big constellation. Mm-hmm. So that's 46 days. 46 degrees, the sun moves 1 degree per day, so that's 46 days in Virgo. And then at the end of Virgo, 4.5 days in the Virgo Libra void before the sun crosses into Libra constellation. Mm-hmm. And starts making some really cool Alphecca Corona Borealis alignments.
Alphecca.
Oh, I love that fixed star. There's actually, I can't remember which feed I posted it on Instagram, but there's something going on with a star in Corona Borealis where it's like a
new star,
intermittent. No,
it's an
intermittent. Right? It's an intermittent nova star. Oh. So we're in one of these. It's like in the next couple months, it's going to nova burst out, and it's going to be as bright as, I can't remember what star they said. It's going to be brighter than the rest of the stars in that constellation. So Corona Borealis is right above Virgo, above the head of Serpens the snake. So no, it's over by Ophiuchus.
Oh yeah, it's right next to Cap. I'm not correct. Sag. Where am I?
Well, no, that's the other one. Go back to
right here. Corona
No, that's the other one. Go back to, you were right there. Just go look above Libra. So see Serpens, the head of Serpens? Yes. See that little U shape above Serpens' head? Okay, yeah. Mm-hmm. That's the Corona Borealis. So yeah, if you're looking at the ecliptic, you just kind of due north above Libra, and you'll see Corona Borealis up there. And it's one of the stars. I'll have to save the reel, or maybe I'll post it to the group chat. But I thought that was really cool. And I'm like, ooh, there's some sovereignty codes getting ready to come in, y'all. That's an amazing burst of energy coming from that constellation. I'm kind of excited about that, honestly. Mm-hmm. So yeah, that's kind of the overview, sort of before the sun actually moves into Virgo, like moving through the void on either side, and then transiting actual Virgo constellation. And here we are with the fixed stars. So at the first fixed star alignment, like significant, it's not by any means every fixed star. These are just some of the most significant ones, because there's a lot of stars, y'all. So Alkaid, also known as Beta Nash in some sky apps. That's kind of I think Beta Nash is an older name. So if you don't see Alkaid, try Beta Nash. But it's the little tail of the bear. Aligns, if you see the yellow line and you draw a perpendicular line to it, you'll see that makes an alignment. Yeah. It's also going through Coma Berenices. Yep. The constellation of Coma Berenices. Excellent visual aid. Yeah. Super galactic center, which is actually in Virgo. Ooh, there's another slide for that.
Oh, yes.
Because that one will not show up on my sky app. I don't know if it shows up for anybody else, but it's one of the ones that will not show up for me. So I screenshotted it, or it won't show up on my software. Sorry, it does show up on my sky app. It doesn't show up on my software. So that's where it is located in the sky. You can type in Virgo A or sometimes M87 and it will show up. if it doesn't show up as supergalactic center, which
Okay. Yep.
I don't think it does. I
It,
type in Virgo A to find it. So
I
just a
got
hint.
yeah, M87 for me,
Yeah.
which is right here.
Okay, cool. So you can see that's actually not far off the ecliptic. And that aligns pretty closely within 1.5 degrees of a Draco constellation, which is Aldebaran. That is Zeta Draco. And I feel like this one's really a portal because Zeta Draco is in the center of the dragon. Like it's in the middle of his body. And the opposite, this is how I kind of read portals. Like Sirius and Vega would be a Stargate portal. I feel like this Draco star is a portal because almost exactly opposite, we got super galactic center and a Draco star opposite Difta and Cetus. I'm like, oh girl, that is a portal. That's a really intense portal. So if you want to reach those dragon realms, you kind of have to balance that really deep Cetus water, that sort of murky Marianas Trench. It's not even murky, it's just black and pressurized. You got to go into the deepest of the deep to attune that that Stargate bridge, because I feel like it takes two to make sort of that kind of Stargate energy. So I think that's an interesting one. So I feel like Supergalactic Center and Aldebaran are sort of a combined, it's like a tandem force. Yeah, you would feel it. It's really almost just a day and a half apart. It's not even really 2 solid days. So it'd be like boom, boom. So I read that as like quantum dragon architecture, but sometimes it's really going to drag some stuff up from the depths to calibrate to go that high because Cetus is on the other side. So that's just an interesting one. Like around September, late September, things get intense. Maybe you'll have a different way to look at it. Then we have diadem. I think that's how you say that, diadem or diadem in Coma Berenices. There's another one that I think is more interesting. It's one in that right angle. The one in the corner I think that's probably pivotal for that constellation. But diadem is the alpha star, so I went with that one. And again, this area has to do with Egyptian Atlantean timelines, because this is the only constellation out of 88 constellations that was actually named for a human that really walked around on the planet. So it's Queen Berenice, who is one of the Ptolemies. I think it's Ptolemy the Third, was the wife of Ptolemy the Third in Egypt. And the whole mythology just goes to her story. Oh, my husband's going off to war. I will cut off my hair to
sacrifice it
return.
to make sure that
cut off her beautiful hair. Which is funny that it shows up in the sky app as blonde because the Egyptians probably had black hair.
Yeah.
Whatever. Details, right? So, hair is so symbolic, like in the dream realm of your chi that emanates like your crown chakra out of the top of your head. So I was like, oh, snap, that's a significant constellation there.
That is
I'll
so
cut off
interesting.
my chi to ensure the safe return of my husband. It's like, how about no?
Yeah,
how about you just stay in your lane and do your day-to-day stuff, and you anchor your heaven on earth and don't worry about what your husband's doing, like out there warmongering. Forget about that. So
trust that he's gonna win, lady.
Trust that you're on your
his
path.
abilities that he can do it himself. He's a man.
Well, if he's warmongering, he's probably not doing the thing. So it's like, whatever. He might be better off not coming back anyway. Just saying.
That is. Well, it's so interesting because when we think about Virgo and the crown chakra in terms of the angelic crown chakra being a halo, it's very interesting how this is basically like having your crown chakra, your antenna, right? Your conduit system of how your information is downloaded and uploaded into your third eye, into your brain. It's like cut off. And it's interesting that it's like a branch point, a convergence point between Leo and Virgo, since Leo rules the hair. So really interesting here.
I know. It was fascinating when I connected. I needed that nugget of like history to understand that constellation. I was like, oh, we are so talking about Egyptian timelines in this area. So that I feel like that's, and super galactic center comes through there, which is one of the core areas of the Laniakea supercluster. It's one of the major convergence points. So maybe to clarify that a little bit too, because that energy does come through this area. Supergalactic center is convergence of multiple galaxies, whereas galactic center is the center of the Milky Way, our galaxy. So we also rotate around with other multiple, probably bazillions of galaxies. Well, that's not scientific. That's not scientific.
Don't quote us on that one, but
a lot of other galaxies that have a great attractor type energy, which that's a different area of the sky. There is a great attractor, but supergalactic center is the core of multiple galaxies. So that is definitely a power area. It's funny that a constellation is coded in there like that. So
it is interesting. And as a natural, right angle, it brings a squaring energy sort of to the table.
Very Masonic references, and the Egyptians,
the Freemasons, that's where they came from.
There's a lot of overlays. You can go down many rabbit holes with that. Just that area of the sky, like it's pretty incredible. Like the quantum architecture that can come through this area of the sky through, Virgo, supergalactic center, that Aldebaran alignment, and Coma Berenices is like, whew, that is so powerful. So it's no wonder that Difta and Cetus is exactly opposite, because like you do have to go to some pretty deep depths to go to those heights to bring down that architecture to this planet, like the organic quantum coding. That is a definite balancing act. Power area, Virgo, super powerful
for sure.
And then after the Coma Berenices star we were talking about, we come to Vinda Matrix, which is in Virgo. You can see that in her sheaf of wheat that she's holding. That's kind of a tough star.
It is. We've talked about this when we had the Virgo
transit stuff. Yeah, it can
be the Vinda
very,
Matrix dominatrix.
Yeah, and sort of the woe is me. Virgo energy is kind of the lower shadow aspect. Virgo energy.
Yeah. This is kind of like your own energy programs your own matrix, and sort of, again, more of a dystopian. It's like you're weaving your own web. You're weaving and Vinda, remember we looked up, meant like weaving in terms of like, I think spider webs or something.
Yeah, there was
some language. So it's like you're literally weaving your own web, weaving your own matrix. And so if you don't like it, again, small changes every day, every choice creates your reality. You don't have to do some grand gesture. It really is just making more conscious choices to be on the timeline that you desire.
And it's so interesting that it's on the side where she's holding the palm frond, right? Because the palm is so associated with the Christ character. Like we have Palm Sunday, right? So there's definitely some rabbit holes to go in. Don't get into that martyr complex. Like that is kind of the shadow aspect, is the savior complex. Don't go there.
Yeah.
Stay in your lane, weave your own reality stream.
And that's such a thing with like Piscean energy too, that we see in that axis of the martyr complex and victim complex and savior complex, because especially with martyr complex, it's like, you don't have to die for a cause. That's not how causes work.
That is actually the opposite of what you're supposed to do.
Exactly.
You're supposed to live.
You're supposed to do it, not
you're supposed to thrive.
Right.
Be that model. Just walk the walk. Virgo is so much like walk the walk. You want to be abundant, you want to live an aligned life, go do that. You don't have to save nobody. Just go find your happy place.
Save yourself, I guess. Yourself. Right. Heal yourself.
Yeah. Find yourself. Kind of it. Go figure out who you are. I'd say that's the biggest puzzle for Virgo. Like, ask yourself in the mirror every day, who am I? That'll keep you busy for a while.
Yes.
Okay, so that's Vinda Matrix, kind of not the highest vibe. Don't get stuck in the savior martyr complexes. The next one we have is Algorab and Corvus. I do so love my Corvus alignments. They can be a little weird, but like the three-eyed raven really wants to be the high vibe of this. Like that, the birds talk to me, like I can remote view. Just think of Game of Thrones and the three-eyed raven, and like that's the thing. That's the Virgo message in a nutshell there.
Yeah, and we've talked about this constellation more of like how it's like emo and kind of like what the broody stereotype that Scorpius usually gets.
Yeah, it can go that
found within Corvus.
It can get a little goth. That's where Virgo goes goth.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Or it can go total nature witch who can do all that
dark
stuff.
witch.
Like I see through the raven's eyes.
Yeah.
The messenger, you work with the animals, they are messengers for you, and vice versa. They can help you commune with other nature spirits. That's kind of the high vibe play out. The raven is kind of like the witch's companion. Yeah.
What's they're very
what does a cat usually call a familiar?
Familiar.
Familiar.
Yep. Yeah. And often known to fetch things for humans if you befriend them. So they bring you little trinkets and things of that
all the
nature.
Good things.
They can change their vocal cords to sound different.
And some of the smartest avian beings around, like corvids, are so intelligent.
Yes, they are. And Odin in Norse mythology can manifest as raven as well.
Oh, that's interesting. I haven't been down that rabbit hole. That is a really interesting juicy nugget right there.
Which Odin is like the I guess god of all gods in Norse mythology.
He's like God.
He's the king god. Yeah.
Talking to God through the animals.
Yeah.
Or he can come talk to you through the animals. So go for a walk in nature. Go take your feet off. Virgos, go do that thing. I think that's I really enjoy Corvus alignments, even though they can have their potential issues. I find the high vibe play out so outweighs any juju that you have to work through. It's so fun. So then we move on to Spica and Arcturus. Spica. And we talked about this one a little bit with the talking about an alignment versus a conjunction, but Spica, I feel like, is kind of a very feminine emanation of Virgo, whereas Arcturus is a completely different vibe. I feel like Arcturus definitely has more of the energy of like portal guardians to Andromeda, but because these are both in the same alignment, they probably equally have importance. It's just I don't know as much about. Nobody talks about Spica as much as they talk about Arcturus.
That's true.
But look how big Spica is. Spica is a big star. And it's carrying its own.
So close to the ecliptic.
Yeah, the sun, planets literally conjunct it. So I kind of feel like this is a softer, gentler. I feel like this energy coming off here is very feminine, and Arcturus is more like protector. I don't know, like
it's also like high tech stuff. If we think about sort of like the Arcturian like starseed sort of thing, a lot of them is like really high vibrational tech. They have like healing chambers and things that are just sound and light. Very angelic.
Yeah,
it can be.
I get Gandalf vibes from Arcturus, like you shall not pass. Like they have the skills to do the job. Ain't nobody getting by them if you don't resonate at that frequency, as far as, because Andromeda is opposite Arcturus. Andromeda galaxy and Saturada is kind of between those two stars in Andromeda. Well, Andromeda galaxy is a whole galaxy, but so I feel like there's a lot of importance with Andromeda coding on the other side of the sky that comes with this Arcturus placement. I also get, like, through dreams, I think my dreams reference, like, this is going to sound funny to some people, and I haven't completely got the whole joke yet, so I'm still working on some of this stuff. I get Robin Hood and like the Band of Merry Men. Like, that's what when Arcturus comes through my dreams, it comes through like Robin Hood imagery and like specifically like the maypole, like weaving the maypole, and I'm like, okay, I don't know if is that a Stargate analogy, but
That's
it's always
been
specifically like Robin Hood.
That weaving sort of thing.
Oh, maybe. Well, it's really close, so maybe.
Yeah.
It's usually specifically like pink and baby blue.
Oh,
and I'm like, I always know it's talking about Arcturus somehow, like weaving those out. I don't know. I just think it's funny that it's like the Robin Hood mentality is like steal from the rich and give to the poor. Is like we're redistributing assets here.
Yeah. Definitely.
This isn't gonna run here. I don't know. There's something funny about that.
Yeah, I believe, well, it's interesting, the pink energy, because pink is the color of unconditional love, and supposedly the Arcturians are one of the species that came through the Galactic Council or whatever to protect humanity once humanity was known to experience love and could emanate unconditional love. We became like a protected race.
That makes sense with the Gandalf energy then, because I can always get that vibe where it's like we're not going to really interfere, but ain't nothing going to get past us. Like we're going to let you have
others from interfering.
Yeah. So I feel like it's important because I think a lot of people there's a lot of people that are dealing with Sirius and Vega, like that Stargate, but some people have a lot of energy with like Arcturus and Andromeda. So I feel like this Stargate is key to matriculating to the Andromeda matrix instead of going like through Sirius or Vega and then having to make another jump, basically, or have another evolution that way. This is another option. So I feel like everything kind of goes towards Andromeda Galaxy. Like all the Stargates kind of go that way because that's where a lot of those races are that are helping bridge back to the organic timelines. Like Andromeda is so cohesive, like they've done the whole consciousness work. It's like their hard drive can hold the consciousness of this whole universe as a memory. Like this is the organic memory of Earth, and people can reconnect to that because they're holding that space for this galaxy or this universe. It's kind of like Andromeda is that big of a deal in the sky. So I feel like Arcturus plays like he's like one stop on the flight path that way. A big one.
Definitely a big one.
Very interesting fixed star. We also hear a lot about it in the collective. So it's probably because they have chosen to step in and be like, we'll take you under our wing, kid. You're all right.
Yeah. It'd be interesting to see how many people, consider themselves Arcturian or et cetera, work with the Arcturians that actually have placements aligned with the actual star Arcturus.
Yeah, I think the Pluto generation that came through there was like early 80s or early to mid 80s was like cruising by Arcturus. So that might be interesting for some folks of a certain age range. Like you might have really deep Plutonian connections through Arcturus where you might have to do a lot of shadow work, but the direct connection is definitely a potential. It's very deep in your consciousness somewhere, probably at a galactic level, obviously. So fascinating axis there. And then on the 25th, Mia Placidus in Carina constellation. Don't have a lot of information on this fixed star or this constellation. Honestly, it's the Viking ship, or it's the seafaring ship.
Yeah, we've talked about
We've talked about it a little bit. I have several clients that have significant placements at Mia Placidus, and the farthest I've been able to distill is like, I think somehow you're connected to Viking root races, like maybe not a direct lineage.
Probably Norse.
Yeah,
Norse stuff pagan, too, which is interesting that Corvus is up there as well. Because I know someone with an alignment here, and she is all about the Norse pantheon.
Interesting.
I think we also said something about the elementals with this star as well, if I remember last time.
That might be Eridanus.
Oh, okay.
That might be Eridanus, Ashenar and Eridanus. It'd be interesting to see if those are opposite, though. like kind of on the
Maybe.
opposite side of a chart because it probably is going to be in the range. I'll have to look it up on my software to see how far
that's too
that opposition is. It's
complicated
hard to
for
do
me
it on
here.
the Sky app without. And that
Yes.
concludes our tour of the major fixed star alignments through Virgo. So as you can see, like 1025 takes us to almost the end of October, and the sun's still transiting Virgo. It kind of moves into the void on the 2nd of November. So there are more fixed star alignments after Neoplastis, but none that I really get super excited about. It starts making Centaurus constellation alignments. I find the ones that I've looked at in that area kind of challenging, like a lot of technological hybridization trauma type things. So that can be challenging for Mia Placidus on over to Libra, but yep, those are the big ones. The rest of them are a little bit smaller, not as large caliber as the ones that we went over. So anything else we want to throw in? Oh yeah, we do have those other slides. We've kind of talked about it, but if you have them, we can throw them up there.
Let me just put them all up together.
Sure, why not? They're vertical. They should all fit.
Yeah, I think so.
Just to give everybody a 2D view of like how this looks on a chart and how funny it is when you look at it. This is sidereal. The fixed star wheel on this uses sidereal. So you can see how big it is compared to how big they say it is, which is funny to me.
Right.
So the first slide on the left, you can see the sidereal signs, Leo, Virgo, Libra. And then I've marked September 16th at New Virgo, and it goes all the way up to Rajil Awa, if that's how you pronounce it. New Virgo on November 2nd. So you can see how much of in sidereal astrology it takes up of either side of Virgo, like almost 8 degrees on either side. One's a little bigger than the other. I think it's like 8 degrees on the top side, maybe 7 degrees on the bottom or so. So it's actually 46 arc degrees in the sky, and then you can see where the Leo Virgo void is. And again, these are alignments.
The fixed star.
Denebola is not on the ecliptic, but it is an alignment. It is the last star in Leo's tail. New Virgo is the first star in Virgo's head that we use. You can see how tiny the void space is there where the sun is not in either constellation. So that's September 14th through 16th. And then the Virgo Libra void on the other side is a little bigger, 4.5 degrees, November 2nd to November 7th. It's actually about 4.5 days. If it's that many arc degrees, it's that many days. It just kind of, the 24-hour period kind of blends on that 5th day. So on the 7th, it's technically in Libra as well. It will cross that threshold of that alignment. So that's what we're looking at with Miss Virgo. Big difference. True Virgo versus tropical or sidereal Virgo.
Because tropical Virgo will say Virgo is like here.
Yeah.
Like a 30-degree.
Yeah. So you can be
Leo.
You can, like my friend who was the accountant and the yoga teacher, she thought she was a Scorpio for her whole life. So you can have Scorpios that are Virgos.
Oh, yeah, I meant up here. My bad.
Yeah, or you can have Scorpios that are Libras. It just depends on where they're at. And sometimes tropical Virgos will actually be Virgos because Virgo's so big.
That's true.
Actually, Taurus can do that too because Taurus is kind of big, and probably Pisces and probably Leo. I can't remember how many degrees Leo is, but
I think so. I think it's like 31.
So if you're born at one end of Leo, you could still potentially be a Leo.
Yeah.
I have a Taurus friend that's that. She's like, there was no way she was not a Taurus. I'm like, you have to be a Taurus. And it was just on that far end.
Uh-huh.
And then in the true sky, it was at the opposite end. I was like, I knew you were a Taurus.
Yep.
So you can be a tropical Virgo and be a real sky Virgo too.
Yep, that's true.
So it's probably quite a jolt for a tropical Scorpio to realize they're a Virgo.
They're a
that's
Virgo.
probably a
Yeah.
hilarious transition.
Yeah. Uh-huh. Oh, from the dark depths of the, sometimes
being an
demonic
angel.
Scorpion energy. Yeah, to an angel. I'm thankful to be a Libra. I'm good with balancing.
Yeah, I am too. I was like, I can make that
Balance
leap.
The light and the shadow. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense to me.
So, surprise. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
There's no reason for you to act like a goth.
Exactly. Unless you have Corvus, then we'll give you
then
a
maybe. Right. True story. All right, man. We still got people in the live chat. This is amazing. I love our night owl crew. You guys are probably on the opposite side of the planet. Or on the West Coast,
just
maybe.
like us, yeah.
Or they're just like us.
It's the night owls.
So shall we answer some questions? Scroll back through the chat room.
Yeah, let's do the chat, and then we have some
we have written in questions. Let's start with Melody. Guidance on Virgo MC 10th house. I am a true Virgo stellium, Jupiter, MC, and Mars. Wow.
Oh, of course you are, you angel.
That's some big masculine angelic codes.
Love it.
Yeah, you here to walk the walk for sure.
Yes, you are. So for me, midheaven is the manifestation gate. So it's an area of your chart that you want to keep open, and it helps you take the immaterial to the material. So with Virgo midheaven, the way to make sure that your manifestation gate stays open is to be of service to others, make sure that you can literally work with the angels, but making sure that you are manifesting your own utopian timeline by making those simple choices, making sure that you have clean gut health, making sure that you pay attention to the details, that your life is organized, in a meaningful way. With it in the 10th house, I'm not sure if you use the 12th or 13th house system.
Yeah.
If you want to drop that real quick in the chat so I can give some better guidance on that. But yeah, keeping your manifestation gate open is basically being all that high vibrational energy of Virgo, literally being that earth angel, walking it, having that garden, eating fresh, and however you are meant to serve others through embodiment of whatever your mission is, through your day-to-day activities. That would be key.
Yeah, word. I would say with Jupiter, you probably have guides. You probably have a lot of guides that it doesn't have to be a lot, but you probably have powerful guides that can and will assist you. Ask your higher self about that. And to really help you anchor some big coding on the planet. Like Mars is like, you're here to do that thing. Jupiter's like, it's big and you probably have help. So ask about that.
Very expansive, probably a lot of traveling involved with Jupiter and Mars there. A lot of movement.
Yeah, it could be like grid work. It could be. It could be. I would have to see how it's aspecting other stuff, but it does feel like sort of like it could be like a health journey too. I don't know. If it's 10th house, like legit 10th house in a 12th house, well, I don't want to say legit. If it's 10th house in a 12th house system, it's definitely part of your purpose to do sort of that self-analysis for expansion. And then as the cup runneth over, like you have gone through your own process of self-improvement. You are running light codes like a boss. And then, you probably will travel, whether that's astral travel or like, oh, I got the memo that I need to go to the next state and just sit down and meditate. Like that could literally be the translation of that if it's 10th house and 12th house in a 12th house system. Let's see.
Interesting. I would take that as in the 13th house system, the 10th house rules travel. So that would be even more grid work on my end. if it would be that. And a lot of it can be sort of more philosophical based, like changing your belief systems and sharing that, and then, you know, inspiring others to change their belief systems and their philosophies about life and their theological belief
Yeah.
systems and things like that. A lot of it has to do with sort of your vantage point and perspectives. So in the 13th house system, I would say that would be how the manifestation gate it stays open. If you're in the 12th house system and it's truly in the 10th house, then it would be more actual like career and work orientation and sort of being in more of a spotlight. And a lot of it can also do with like accumulating wealth and utilizing that wealth, the way that you use accumulation of money and even redistribute it in some way to serve others.
That's interesting. And the evolutionary astrology way that I kind of look at it, I look at the 10th house in the 12 house system as purpose, like the higher octave of it is
Like
purpose. Because it's
vocation, right?
Capricorn is like 10th house things, right? So, but the higher octave of Capricorn is authenticity and integrity and being in so hardcore in alignment and you are doing the thing that is like it goes beyond a career. Like your purpose
Yes,
becomes your lifestyle.
exactly. It's
So it can
vocation,
be,
right?
yeah, yeah. It's like you've embodied it so much. It's like you would never settle for anything less than something that makes your soul sing, basically.
Exactly. It's your
So, and
calling, and you just
yeah,
happen to make a lot of money from it because you're
yeah,
being materially
because you're in
rewarded.
alignment. Yeah,
Exactly.
you're in alignment.
Uh-huh.
Jupiter is like, oh, yeah, you stay in alignment and I'll take you places, kid.
Exactly.
Let's go. Let's get that. Let's get that fast car running. Like it
hmm
sounds to me like the physical vessel, you have a very attuned, you have a Ferrari, basically.
hmm
Because the MC is kind of like, it's just what you are. You don't really have to work at it. It's just kind of like the thing that you just do. And the better gas you put in that car, the faster you can go. So, yeah. Be witchy. Be witchy.
Yeah, that's another thing.
Yeah.
Intentionally utilizing herbs, food, you know, true medicine.
Go talk to the trees. Like I
hmm
could totally see
And
that
the
as part
animals.
of your guidance.
hmm
Your guide system could be the earth itself. Like that is
The
a really
birds.
cool MC.
hmm
Super fun.
Yeah.
Hope that helps. I hope that resonates. Or I don't hope. I just wonder if it resonates.
Yeah, let us
Let's
know.
see. She asks at in the bottom of the comments, how do you learn more about the 13th house? Oh, that's a maybe you can DM Sachi. Well,
Yeah,
yeah, we could do
so
an episode on the 13th house. We'll
yeah,
definitely do the house
we
system.
could. Currently, I have an article that is open to the public on my website. If you go to my musings page, it explains what the 13th house is, why it is there. Just like Ophiuchus is not the 13th sign, it is the ninth.
Yeah.
That is where the added one is. So I have some visual representations. I also have an updated profection year chart. So you can go ahead and check that out, and there's lots of information there about not only what is in that house, but also the necessity of it working with 13 signs. There should be 13 houses. That is basically the
Mm-hmm.
argument.
Can we link
So yeah.
that? Is it available
Yeah,
like
it's available
as a
to the
link?
public. Yes, it
Okay,
is
we'll link
available
it
to
in
the
the
public.
description.
So
That'd be
yes,
great. Make it
you
easy for
can
everybody.
check that out below.
Yeah, it's interesting. When you think about the 13 signs, it definitely is something to noodle on with
hmm
13 houses.
My
I
biggest
haven't
thing is
I
that I have
haven't
to
gone
calculate it by hand.
yeah, I haven't
That's
gone
kind
down
of
the
the pain,
house
but
rabbit hole to satisfactorily. I haven't decided if I'm a 12 houser or a 13 houser. I'm like, I'll take a really deep dive for the house systems because I know there's a list as long as my arm of house systems, and I really want to read more about all of them.
yes. Uh-huh.
Um,
And and if
and then
if
I'll be
anyone
better
who wants
informed.
to learn about various house systems, if you want to take my astrology 201 course, we go through tons of different types of various house systems. And for me, I'm a chart hacker. So it's not that one housing system is quote unquote correct over the other, although obviously I am a fan of the 13th house system, but you can use different house systems to do different tasks. So for example, if you have difficulty connecting to your 5th house because it's empty, if you use a different housing system, now maybe a placement's in there. So there basically are two, I mean, obviously we could do an episode on this, but there's two ways, kind of an umbrella term of the way to do housing systems, one temporal and one spatial. So one is segmented by time and one is segmented by space. And so me personally, I like doing space because it's nice and easy, and time is very fluid and kind of not real except in the 4th dimension. But yeah, so I like doing equal houses through space, which is
that's what
houses,
I currently use equal houses, but I like to think I don't know. We'll get into that. We'll get into that.
We will do an episode.
We'll do a house episode.
But again, if you want to teach yourself, you can check out my Astrology 201 course that is available in my shop on sachitheseer.com.
And there is also another link I will add on house systems that I found recently with that list as long as my arm. So I will add that to the description too. I can't remember what site it was, but I saved it, so I'll go find it. Okay. She says her Mercury is in Virgo in the 9th house too. So she has Mercury in Virgo too. So girl, witchy. We'll call it earth angel-y because people think poorly of witch stuff, but that's witches were just earth priestesses, basically.
Priestess is a nice neutral,
a nicer word,
uplifting term.
A nature priestess, maybe a druid. Even you could probably call them a druid. That gives you sort of maybe an idea in your head, even though druids seem to be from an area of the planet, but it's a good label. I feel like very in tune with the natural world. And the 9th house, that's a wisdom keeper house for me. Well, it depends on if it's a Ophiuchus or Sagittarius like energy, because 9th house for you is Ophiuchus type energy, right?
Correct.
Yeah. So for me, 12th house, I would say that's a wisdom keeper placement.
For me, I would say that would be a healing placement, alchemical, herbalism, Kundalini control, etc.
And she says something about my sun in Leo.
Sun in Leo at the stomach,
at the very tip of the head of Virgo. Yeah, that would be something you would probably, if it's in the void between Leo and Virgo, it's a very small void. So you definitely want to look that up on some software to be sure.
Yes.
And the void has kind of a, it's doing something in there. It's like recalibrating for only a couple days, going from Leo, the sun, to Virgo. It's like, oh my gosh, let's take all this big solar energy and now we got to land it on the planet. Like immediately go into Virgo, good habits, patterns, and routines with that aha moment in that solar energy.
Yeah. I'm not sure if you caught the beginning. Well, maybe not the beginning, but within the first half hour, I'd say, how, when we started talking about the angelic frequencies and utopian timeline aspect of Virgo, all of it is the Leo lessons of shining your light, of utilizing your vital force and having fun and playing and all those things that bring you joy and happiness, and
inner child
anchoring it, inner child, and anchoring it in the Virgo way on a daily basis. And so it's literally anchoring that light. And so in that void space, that is a lot of the lessons. So in that way, you can consider it a blend of the two. But also that's, especially when it's in the void spaces, that's when you want to look at alignments of the constellations above and below the ecliptic. So if you remember, earlier we talked about that constellation that is that hair, that lock
Coma Berenices.
Coma Berenices. So girl, you got some Coma Berenices stuff going on.
The weave. Oh, that's funny. It's a weave. We just had another cosmic giggle. Weaving it in there. Yeah, the fixed star alignments come more into play like as you're shooting that gap because you're not in a concentrated constellation energy. So those other constellations above and below the ecliptic kind of have access to that. So that would be interesting to get a sky app and just kind of scan down and scan up, you know, and see what's in that little window. Eventually, when we have an app, there will be another circle that you could just, you'll see it very clearly. Like, I am so excited for when that day is.
She said, yeah, I'm using the night sky app.
Okay, cool.
So yeah, perfect. Just look above and below, draw your perpendicular line to the ecliptic, because there's also, you know, Alkaid, I believe, is through there as well. So there can be some Ursa Major stuff. There's Draco stuff going on.
Yeah.
Even those like two little doggies, canines,
yeah,
Tassini, twin.
It's such a small little
doggies.
gap, though. It's going to be very brief that you'll feel that the, you know, other stuff coming in. And I feel like it's really, so the important thing is, like, we touch that soul level energy with the sun, and then it's immediately just go start doing stuff with it. Like, just start incorporating, you know. It could be like you have an epiphany, you know, and it's just like, oh, I found, like, oh, I connected with a part of my inner self that I have forgotten was even there. And then you just go about your day to day differently. It can be like, oh, now I enjoy washing the dishes. I enjoy doing these things. I actually want to go do more things that are good for me. You know, like, you just start having a different outlook, a sunnier outlook, and then you go start doing different habits, patterns, and routines. That would be kind of a natural play out. Like, some people may not touch that quite that level through the Leo season, because some of it can be slogging through ego stuff and control mechanisms and, like, sort of those governmental control ego
hierarchy.
Yeah, soul crushing type things. So the goal is to, like, have those moments of such union with your soul energy that's like, oh, everything makes sense. Okay, let's go do some things differently, right? Let's go camp more. I don't know. That's my example, is like, when I really tap into, like, what makes me happy, it's like rolling down a grassy hill, hanging out in nature, having a campfire. It's like really simple things. It has nothing to do with politics and some of those things that Leo can express through. You know, it has nothing to do with that. Yeah, it has nothing to do with that. It's like the simple pleasures. So a lot of that 2.5 degrees can be like, how can I simplify? How can I take that thing that makes me feel so fulfilled and just make it something I can do daily or regularly? Right? How can I incorporate that?
Make it a habit.
Incorporate it in some way.
Sort of routine. And especially, Melody, because you have all that Virgo energy, it's like you have that Virgo stellium. It's like it's really placing the emphasis on, like, okay, do the thing, do the Virgo thing.
Yes, indeed. Let's see if we have any other questions. That might be it. Oh, we do have a write-in, don't we?
Yes, we have some write-in. Oh, we got Zuby in the chat. Common theme of Virgos, they have neck issues. That is funny. Yeah, we've run into a couple Virgos that had to have, like, neck surgery. It's like, what is going on? But again, it's like
carrying the weight of the world.
Yes, that is, like, probably
could be all that. Yeah, mental spinning makes your head heavy.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, they were like over servers, I would say. Yeah.
Ooh, that's I just heard server, like a computer server. Isn't that interesting?
Yeah.
Because Virgo, really, that is kind of an interesting artificial construct of Virgo, an artificial echo, or just, I should say, technological echo. Let's call it technological. Yes, Virgo's holding space on the planet. Good job. Okay, this is a lot of questions.
Okay, so they said they won't make it to the YouTube live, so they wanted to leave some questions. So we're gonna just touch upon a couple of them. Because if you want all your questions answered, you gotta come live.
Or book a session.
Yes, or book a session if you have like all this. So
yeah,
I'll pick one and then
that can apply to the most people. Let's see.
So I'll do the first one, and then if you want to pick
Okay.
the next one, because I like that it touches upon the 13 house system because we literally just talked about it.
Okay.
So how would Virgo on the 11th and 12th house operate? So obviously when we're talking about like more of utopian timelines, there's going to be stuff with work or vocation and also sort of community and group focus could be some other things, but I guess I'll focus on service orientation because that is just what I'm feeling called to do. So when we think about like Virgo in the 11th, a lot of it is service orientation through the accumulation of wealth and wealth distribution. Again, there can be a lot of, so it's like utilizing your money for service. There is also a lot of like career vocation needing to be service oriented or a service mentality. So yes, a lot of wealth can come in, but it has to be, okay, I'm doing this to serve the greater good, et cetera, et cetera. Obviously, you have to be serving yourself. But there's also a lot of social mobility through service as well. So kind of like started from the bottom, now we're here. That is sort of a mantra for Virgo ruling the 11th house. So, again, that lower vibrational Virgo is like someone who's just going to, be stuck working at Burger King their whole life or whatever. But as you truly act in
I thought you said Virgo King.
Oh,
so funny that I heard it that way.
That is funny. Yeah.
Carry on.
That is so funny. But as like you are aligning more with true service, your social mobility is going to increase. So you will be with a different class of people. We'll just put it that way. When it comes to Virgo in the 12th, a lot of the service is going to be focused on community or group relationships. So, the most practical way to think about it would be you're not going to be working one-on-one with people. You will be working in groups for a group, for a community. This could be like literally, an actual group of people. This could be doing something and then putting it out to the general populace and letting that community sort of populate on its own. This could be through, science, tech, psychology, inventing something, innovating something. I used an example in this episode of service orientation of creating an app, that helps tons of people. That would be a great Virgo 12th house thing. Because it is, technologically based. It's going to reach, millions of people potentially. And yeah, I mean, it could also be something a little bit more on the fringe side, like serving in more of a revolutionary way, whether your service orientation to humanity is sort of like leading a revolution in a way, or perhaps you are serving a community that are rebels or revolutionaries in some sort of way. So
yeah, purpose and collectives. Virgoing purpose and collectives is how I would see it, because I'm trying to think like, okay, in 12 house system, I'd be like 10th and 11th. I share Virgo, or I have Virgo in this sort of in the 13 house system, 12th house, spanning like collectives. I deal with Virgo on a collective scale. It can be doing your own self-improvement brings templates, makes templates accessible to the collective. So it can be very metaphysical as well. Like you stepping into your angelic templates, because at a higher dimensional energy, depends on how high you're working in the dimensions. Like you might be connected into a very, damaged soul group. And if you can connect to the angelic frequency, it makes that available, like, what do they call it? Like open source for other souls in your soul group, collective on earth, to be able to access those templates as well. So if one person can do it, anybody can do it, because they now have access to that program, software, whatever you want to call it. I think that's fascinating.
It
It's
is.
a fascinating
And
placement.
since you have that placement, I mean, that's literally what we're doing with the True Sky Crew. And,
Yeah.
the technology that has been created through your work, like the daily planner, the calendar, like
Our
literally
work.
you made that
Our work.
template, Janine. I
Our
mean,
work.
it is our work, but you made that template. You know what I mean?
That's true. That's a funny, it's a funny echo. Isn't it?
It is. You made the template. And
Yeah, you could be a template maker. It would depend on some of the
that's true.
other things too, like
And for me, Virgo,
recoding things.
Virgo's my like third and fourth house in the 13th house system, but because I have Jupiter in the third, I feel more prominence in third house Virgo. And for me, it's like data input, info, data. So yeah, like that's what we're doing with the True Sky Crew.
Yeah. Data reallocation or reinvent, not even reinvention. It's the BASF thing again. We didn't make the thing. We're just making it better.
Exactly. Yep.
We're just working with what we got. We're making it better. We're distributing it. It's the Robin Hood model. We're just giving it out. Who wants it? But it's here if you can get to that level to access that thing, right? If you're on that path, if you're a seeker of the thing, it can't be corrupted. Like, I think that's the key too, is like making things sort of data encrypted with the Virgo thing. So it's like the templates are not hackable. It's light body tech in that way, though. Yeah, it's fascinating, like the 3D play out level, like how you might experience it on a day to day, and then you just keep going up the octaves, like into the metaphysical realms, and really let your mind telescope up there because you're definitely working with collectives. You're working with collective. If you have planets in Virgo anywhere in the area of Coma Berenices, is like that makes it make sense. Like you cleaning up your Egyptian timelines recodes a whole lot of stuff. It just makes different templates available because you're pulling out the distortions. You're like, oh, we're closing that screen and that screen and that screen and that screen, and we're going to open up some new screens. That kind of thing. That's not the most practical application, but again, it depends on where you're at with your work. So for me, it makes complete sense because it's what I do on a day-to-day. Like me doing my body recoding, I know I'm closing out timelines. Like, and all I have to do is get up and just do what I do every day and do some body code, do some emotion code. And we're just changing timelines for the planet, like helping the planet change timelines, helping collectives of people change time, giving them different options, basically. I like Virgo in this area.
I love Virgo too in this area and most areas.
Yeah, I like it. I like Virgo better in the less personal areas. I think it can be really intense if it's in the first through third houses.
Yes, I agree with that.
I feel like it can be. People tend to onboard. They tend to identify more with some of the spirally things in Virgo, and you'll see it come through their personality harder than if it's in sort of like 13th through, I don't know, the top half of the chart, basically.
Yeah, well, that's the aspect of like being in the, if you do it spatially, like the dark half of the chart versus the light half, above the horizon,
bigger than you side of the chart. Not the personal side of the chart, the daytime side. Right. Okay.
Above, I would say above the horizon versus below. What you can see versus what you can't.
MC versus IC.
Correct.
Up on that side, on the MC side. Okay. Very cool Virgo area for sure. Let's see. I think I'm going to go with, what do you think are the biggest distortions about the Virgo path? Ooh, that downward inward spiral. Not being able to get out of their own way, not being able to get out of their own head. That's the biggest challenge. I mean, that kind of, the challenge is kind of the distortion, because you're identifying yourself as something that's not good enough. So if I had to go back to a core wound for Virgo, I would say injustice wounding. injustice wounding tends to run the poor me program. They tend to internalize everything. They take the blame for everything. It's the wounding where it's like, it's not fair. Oh, woe is me. That's kind of the biggest distortion of Virgo, because Virgo holds so much power. You just have to get out of your own way. It's the mental spinning, I feel like, that causes Virgo to just not be able to get out of their own way. And the best way to get out of your own way is to turn your brain off, go for a walk, go out in nature, go get some kind of physical practice. It doesn't have to be extreme. It doesn't have to be like powerlifting or, all that crazy exercise routines. It's just go do something moderate, go for a nice stroll. It's not power walking. It's go find something that is physical, is pleasant. Like gardening for me is a very physical task. I can do it for 2 or 3 hours a day at a moderate pace, and it gets me out of my head. And then I grow food and I give it to my friends. I grow flowers and I give them to my friends. Eventually, maybe I'll start a business with that because I love to do it. So, yeah, that's, I think, some of the biggest challenges with Virgo is they overthink stuff.
Definitely. Yeah, the Mercury aspect of it.
Yeah.
For me, I think one of the biggest distortions is definitely it's like that woe is me program, but part of it is like thinking that you have to serve others at the expense of your own needs. And that goes into, the savior complex, martyr complex, wage slavery and things like that. Super downtrodden program that keeps you in like on a hamster wheel of constantly doing things for other people, but nothing for yourself. And that can tie into some of the, on a larger scale, I think one of the biggest distortions is obviously the pharmaceutical industry, the healthcare industry in general, which is just like harm care, basically. They're making you sicker and giving you more pills and, believing that the small change that you have to make is like consuming something rather than changing your actions. So it's like, oh, if I just take this pill, I'll be better. So I think like on a large scale, that's probably one of the biggest distortions is just like healthcare and pharmacy.
That's a definite physical 3D play out distortion of that is a huge distortion.
It's such a misguided thing. And another thing I think that's a little bit or that's like one of the biggest distortions is the all or nothing approach when it comes to the perfectionism. Because a lot of people have this like, and again, this is kind of on a large scale, like an idealistic view, right, of how they want their life to be. And it's like, well, if I can't live my ideal life, then I might as well just sort of give up on everything. Like an example I've used before on a previous episode, I believe in regards to Virgo even, was Zuby and I had recently, started talking to someone who was talking about like the water, we're talking about tap water and how disgusting it is and blah, 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 blah. And they said like, well, I decided not to get, a filter for my drinking water because, my shower water has, all the terrible stuff in it. So, I don't have like all the money or resources to do a whole house filter. So why even bother? And it's like, that is so ass backwards. It's like, start with your
take that baby step.
Right. Yeah. Start with the drinking water, and then maybe a couple months down the line, you save up for a shower filter. Maybe you do the shower that you use every day. Maybe you have a guest shower, you do that next year or something, and then maybe you start saving up for a whole house filter so that you don't have to keep, reinstalling or whatever. Obviously you have to change the filters, but not as often as like a singular one. If you have a whole house filter, they're usually like big and industrial and you do it, I think like once or twice a year. But again, it's that all or nothing mentality. So, if you're sitting right now, like, okay, if you don't like your job, you don't like your partner, you don't like, the car you drive, you don't like the things you watch, the way you look, all these sorts of things. And it's like, oh, well, that's so much to accomplish. I might as well just, sit here and continue to hate my life.
That's kind of like the ADHD overwhelm. Like your electrical system is in overwhelm. It's not calibrated. And it's
Exactly.
literally just pick up that one box over there and deal with that one thing. Like, don't worry about the whole, just do one thing.
Exactly. It's just small choices.
Yeah,
That's all it
that's
is.
so Virgo. Yeah, I think so. That the pharmaceutical industry being like the biggest distortion. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
that's definitely a big distortion. Naturopath, the naturopath path.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Epigenetics and neuroplasticity. Those two things will change your life. And you know, every
Eat
time I
right
go
for
to a
your blood
Western
types,
doctor
that
now.
kind, yeah,
Yeah.
that kind of
Uh-huh.
stuff. I don't know if that book is
Yeah. And your
100% science proven, but I do know that it did help me knowing my blood type and sort of eating certain things that were
Mhm.
more appropriate than others. It was like less meat, more vegetables, and I do my car definitely runs better with less meat. It
Mhm.
likes the vegetarianism. So not for everybody, but
Mhm.
again, it can be those little things that helps
Mhm.
get that
Yeah.
stuff
And
aligned.
also like eating for um your biological sex, and if you are a biological female, the part of the cycle that you're in as well, and knowing that
Mm-hmm.
types of information, and exercising also based on those criteria as well, because
Mm-hmm.
most studies and most recommendations are for, biological males between the ages of 18 and 65. So,
Wow, I didn't
um,
know that. You would know that.
mhm.
You've seen that
Yeah,
stuff, so
actually,
I did not know that.
all of the pharmaceutical studies up to a certain point were males between the ages, I think it was like 35 to 65. And actually, all pharmaceutical studies, there are zero that go above 65. And so there is no data. So let's say you're on a pill your entire life, let's say you start at 30 to 65. Your doctors will cut off your prescriptions at 65 because there's no viable data to prove that you have a higher life expectancy on the drug than off the drug.
Oh, but like actuarial science
Yes.
type tables. That's such golly. That's
And
such
I have a pal
wow.
who's a pharmacist, and his mother turned 65 and the doctor didn't refill the prescriptions. She called her son and he was like, yeah, that's normal. Yeah, there's no data to support that you'll live longer continuing to take the pill. So they have no reason to.
They just
It's
decide to
just
cut you
like,
off.
exactly.
Fantastic.
It's
Yeah,
it's
so
really wild.
that's a great point. Like I feel like with Leo energy, the biggest obstacle is sort of like government control,
Mhm.
control outside of yourself. It's sovereignty.
Mhm.
With Virgo, it's the pharmaceutical industry.
Yeah,
It's the
healthcare.
food.
Yeah. Yep.
Healthcare and food.
Food,
Big
food.
ag is the
Yeah,
big problem with Virgo.
that's true. Uh-huh. And it's interesting because spica's there. And if we think about like spike proteins, which basically are how like viruses invade the body and things like that.
Yeah,
It's
let's not go there. That and CRISPR
a
technology
lot
gives me
of
the willies.
yeah, I've worked with CRISPR-Cas,
I
so
know it's so
I
creepy.
know
That
it,
is
and
creepy stuff.
I know. Yep, it is creepy stuff.
So let's not go there,
Yep,
humanity.
this is a good time to
Let's back it up a step.
yeah.
Everybody band together and grow gardens.
Yeah. Well, with
Save
Uranus entering
seeds.
Taurus,
Yeah,
I
save
have,
seeds.
yes, heirloom seeds, and yeah,
It
definitely
sounds
save seeds.
overly simplistic, and not everybody is like an earthy grower type person. But if you start, you know,
And
collaborating
you
in
don't even have to.
collectives in your local area, right? You make friends with the people that enjoy doing it. See, that's
hmm
what's key is like everybody has something that makes their soul just resonate. And it's like
hmm
if everybody's just doing that thing, people just start gravitating together. Oh, I'm a fixer person. Oh, I'm a grower person. Oh, I'm a cleaner person. Oh, I'm a, it's like everything gets taken.
hmm
I love kids. I'll help take care
hmm
of kids. There is a thing for everybody in a community. It's just we kind of have to energetically reorganize what our communities look like, I guess. Because I mean, we have like a decimated. We have the nuclear family, and literally because family
hmm
unit's been blown to bits,
Yeah.
and there's no real extended family anymore. There's no communities anymore. We just live in suburbs of single family homes and condos and apartments, and
but we're building it back.
Yeah.
Yes, we
So,
are.
yeah.
And
It's to reorganize that stuff too, I feel like, so we can all come back together. Everybody doing the thing that they love to do.
Exactly. And one more thing I want to mention, and it's funny because before we began the episode, Janine and I were kind of talking about this, is chaos gardening. For those of you who want to have access to a bunch of free food, but don't want to get into, any sort of agriculture, you don't want to put time and energy into it, get a bunch of seeds, throw them in some dirt, see what grows. Something's gonna take, and you can, all you have to do is harvest it and eat it, and I guarantee you will not want to go back, because the way that food tastes, if you've never eaten something picked directly from the ground or taken from the vine or picked off a tree, you have never felt
you haven't eaten,
and
baby.
tasted. Yeah, you've never tasted or felt the nutrient density of real food.
Real food. Yeah.
And
I grow lots of my own vegetables, and I know that is 1,000% true. The flavors that come through home, like food you eat right off the vine, is just, you can't match it in a grocery store.
And if
not even an organic grocery store.
Yeah, definitely not. And if you're in a situation where you feel like you can't invest in seeds or something, reach out to some people. I guarantee they have some seeds,
make some friends. Yeah. Go to the community garden.
Seed swap.
Chip in.
Seed swap. Yep. Most cities have a seed swap where they give you free seeds. It's usually like between 5 and 20 packets for free, and then you can buy extra. But literally, farmers and people who are, agriculturists and horticulturists are wanting to give you them for free. So, just Google seed swap in your closest city, and I guarantee that you will have some free seeds in your hand.
And if you don't,
and now's the time. Seed swaps happen in February, March, so hop to it.
If you don't really have space to garden, community gardens.
Yep.
Look up community gardens in your area, or just start growing stuff in your windowsill and planters in little pots.
Exactly.
And an herb kitchen garden.
And if you can't afford that, you can use old cups, old buckets, old bowls,
anything,
old water bottles. There is zero excuses.
You can go to Goodwill and get some containers, or you can use found stuff.
And there's plenty of people online that do low budget gardening and sort of recycled gardening where they use old stuff. So, follow some accounts like that on Instagram or Twitter or wherever you are. So
there's a really cool method, like this is the chaos gardening thing, called Hugelkulture, where you pile a bunch of dead brush and logs up, and then you cover it in dirt. And that's basically, you just throw your seeds on it and walk away. And because there's so much wood in it, it's constantly decomposing and feeding nitrogen into this, feeding the soil, but it also holds water, so you never have to water it. I was like, all you need is a tractor, or, well, you don't even need that. You can just use wheelbarrow and shovel, but that's be a lot of work. But just pile up a bunch of dirt, throw some seeds on it, come back in a month, see what's popping.
Put some dirt on it.
Put some dirt on it. Hashtag Virgo things. Just put some dirt on it. You're fine. Yep. Good times. Good times.
Yep.
Let's see. Do we have any more questions in the chatteroo?
I do not think so.
I don't think so either. Awesome, man. We still have a bunch of people watching. I am impressed with you guys.
Thank you all.
Thanks, crew.
Yes.
This has been a Virgo download for sure. Awesome. Anything else you want to throw in to sum up? Do you think you covered all your bases?
I think I covered all the bases.
All right. I feel pretty good about it too. Yes. So thanks everybody for joining us. We really appreciate all you guys being here live and commenting, and everybody that joins us on the replay. Feel free to comment questions or anything any thoughts, questions, comments you have in the comment section under the video, or DM us on Instagram. Like if you'd like to join the group chat on Instagram, feel free to DM us there. We are the one and only True Sky Crew. You can find us on YouTube and Instagram at the True Sky Crew. I'm Janine, and you can find me on Instagram. I'm currently laying low for all my appointments because we're sort of crunching on the daily planner to get the rest of the year out. So I don't have any offerings at the moment. How about you, Sachi?
I have actually, or you guys are first to hear it here, but I have reopened my books and I am taking them for April onward. So if you are interested in that, you can go ahead and go to Sachi the Seer and check out my offerings. It is below all the calendar stuff and my classes, kind of hidden away on purpose because I'm slowly coming out. I haven't made an announcement on my socials yet, but just like we talked about in the March episode, I have just really been feeling to step back into service. I've had so many DMs and emails that it's just like, okay, I got to do it. So I will be increasing my prices in a couple weeks. So if you're interested in booking with me, now would be the time to do so.
Right on. Get in there while the getting's good, y'all.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's growing season
And you
for
can find
me.
me at
So
Sachi this year.
after the planner's done, I'm like peacing out in the garden for a while. So it might be summer before I decide to do anything online. I have to get my computer fixed too. So it's just maybe this year is mostly podcasting and less sessions. We'll see. So yeah, you guys, thanks for joining us. Our next episode will be April transits in 2 weeks on March 21st. So until then, keep your feet on the ground and your eyes on the sky because the true sky don't lie. Have a good night, everybody.
Good night.